Hello everyone, this is your friend from Naruto Audio Fanfics, and we are back once again with a brand new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto Uzumaki transcended all limits and forged a new world with Hinata, Haku, Tenten&Fū Part 2. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing Naruto fanfics like this. So without wasting any more time, let's start today's fanfic. The Hyuga sat patiently, waiting for their guest to arrive. He looked to the Sandaime Hokage, who was currently seated by his large desk that tied into his title. Both men were yet to speak to each other, and that served to make things more awkward between them. Frankly, Hiashi preparing to leave the second 9:01 p.m. struck on the clock. He was an important official, as well as the Sarutobi himself. They had no time to waste, especially with someone whose identity was yet to be discovered. Besides, he wanted every excuse possible to avoid meeting the man they were waiting for. Suddenly, the clock hit 9 p.m., and in that same second a man appeared in the center of the room via a body flicker. He was dressed as before, not a single hair out of place. However, there was a markedly obvious lack of seals on his person, unlike the first time they encountered him all those years ago. Good evening, Hokage-sama, Lord Hiashi. I hope I've not been tardy, he remarked flatly. Welcome, may we have your name, or at least a handle we can use? It would make things flow more smoothly, the Hiruzen requested. I can give you a handle. Call me Sagan. Sagan, Hiashi asked. Weird name to choose. The hooded man said nothing in response. Anxious to clear the air of the growing tension, Hiruzen cleared his throat. Sagan-san, we're here to discuss the results of your requests roughly 2.5 years ago. Sarutobi continued. That's why you're here, is it not? Ah, yes. So, how is the soup kitchen getting along? Oh, and make it brief. I'm sure we have other places we'd rather be right now, Sagan replied, much to the Hyuga's ire. It's doing well, if I may say so myself. As per financing is concerned, the Hyuga clan has given quite a bit of funding since its opening. I believe that many of the people who frequent it are the people who suffered during the Ninetales' attack. Some of them are even willing to injure themselves to sleep there in a warm bed that the side house provides. His hand lifted and disappeared to stroke his hidden chin in thought. Is it possible for the Hyuga to fund a little more for expanding just a bit more? I am sure that Lord Hiashi can dig just a little deeper. Maybe about 50 futons next to and around each other would do the job efficiently. The futons could simply be put away in the day, Sagan suggested. This is going a bit too far, Sagan-san. We Hyuga don't have an unlimited amount of money in our treasury. If we have much more of this so-called charitable funding, Hiashi said in disgust, we'd have to forfeit our emergency fund, which was set aside for our own survival or anything that warrants an emergency of similar dire straits. It was times and foolishness like this that made the man more emotional than not. Do you think we have bottomless pockets? No, the guest said testily, as if he was preparing for a fight with the man. You're right. Perhaps if you were to look out the window and activate your Byakugan, you would see that there are people who are far needier than you are. You seem to have on expensive new robes. Perchance if you went hungry for a few days you would realize how superfluous that your extravagant worldly possessions are. These people have no clothes, no food, no warm beds. We see them every day, and yet we try to ignore their situation. So you are hesitant. Perhaps if you were to have lost more than just your first heiress, Lady Hinata, you would have been giving a lot more in gratitude. I suppose it can't be helped. Hiashi seemed regretful all of a sudden. He didn't mean to say what the man was interpreting. Are you implying that I don't care for my own village or its denizens? I do, but you're not even a resident, and if you care that much for the leaf, I don't see you rearing up to lift a hand to help it yourself. Fair accusation. I'll release you from any debt you owe me, since you feel that you've done enough. I will give you a new proposition. I will do the Hyuga clan one service, a mission if you will, into any situation, no matter how underhanded, futile or suicidal it may be, but only if you're willing to invest more into what should have been your civil duty, Sagan spat. Do we have accordance? How can I be sure you will get the job done if I go through with this? The clan head was skeptical, not missing the man's disgust. As much as I dislike boasting, I am very confident in my skills, and you know that if I've faced off against the ambassador from Kumo and your Anbu without an ounce of effort. Then there's my durability, chakra capacity and something else. I cannot reveal any more. You get the idea. I am still doubtful. You should still be ashamed, having to be bought to help the less fortunate. I merely used the incident all those years ago to help both of you to have some humanitarian ideals. If not for the benefit of all, then even for the benefit for one person, isn't that enough? And yet, you refuse my offer. His rebuke was stinging. I suppose that's true, Hiyashi admitted to himself. He'd never really taken the riff-raff of the village into regard before. It was also pleasing to see Hitomi happy with his charitable actions, be it willing or not. Even more so, she had been taking her own action, and what was worse was that if it should be that he didn't accept Sagan's offer now, she'd drain his private accounts to continue. Besides, not all of his own likely future dirty work had to risk a Hyuga. I accept, Sagan-san. Hope you don't regret it. In response, the enigmatic man reached into his coat and retrieved a sheet of paper with a seal on it. This is a summoning seal. Simply lay it on the ground and focus your chakra into it. I will appear in a matter of seconds. He then gave it to the emotionless Hyuga, who put it away carefully. The Hokage looked on at the development with an approving nod. So you're familiar with Fuinjutsu. I like to dabble in everything. Moving on. What of the orphanage? The orphanage, it's doing well at the moment. It has roughly 50 children at present. It doesn't seem to be growing. That's actually a good thing. Having fewer orphans, that is. It was usually higher, Sagan stated, sounding relieved, showing true emotion in his tone for the first time. I remember that its conception attracted all of its present occupants within only a few days. The Sarutobi clan has made it per your instructions and it has helped to keep such children off the streets. The Hokage smiled. I have visited the children myself, but I have not told them that it was you who wanted it built. If I told them you were, and that you were here. Perhaps another time, one with more convenience and less risks, Sagan interrupted. But the orphanage is starting to dilapidate a little. It's nothing my clan cannot assist with, of course. It would serve me well to continue funding the orphanage, nothing's wrong. But your concern for the orphans had demonstrated how little my concern had been for the village's future generation was. So you have concern for them now? Sagan asked in a weird tone, one that suggested that he knew and believed differently. All of them. You haven't neglected any. Sagan gave him one of the seals as well. I'm sure that you will most certainly use that in the near future, knowing the extensive variety of missions all ninja take. I think you should have one, just think so. The Hokage took it from him carefully and mused over it. Perhaps I'll get Jiraiya to look it over. Just think so, he thought ironically. It was for the fact that the man reminded him a lot of Ito, although he was reputedly wandering around the border of Suna right now. Ito was something of Fuinjutsu expert, and if this was his, then he was basically leaving his identification card behind. If not, then he just happened to land a strong ninja in his back pocket. Win-win either way. Sagan made a show of stretching. Well, I'll be making my leave. Hiyashi-sama. Hi. The man answered. Don't waste it. And so the final word was said. Sagan left in a vermilion red body flicker, and made sure to leave no trail. X equals X equals. So yeah, you did me a solid, Kurama. 100 favors. How do you like the scenery in there now? Kurama sat down in the new mindscape. The general outlook had changed from bleary to cheery. Instead, the leaking pipes that had intercrossed a dark flooded sewer had been substituted for a grassy plain with a rather large tree in the middle that was big enough to shelter under, even if there were two of him. There was enough light, but it carried no heat. Very comfortable. I like it. I like it, especially knowing that I earned it by doing those favors for 6 years. I know that it's Ito's rule and motto, but we both know that it's the truth. Nothing comes for free. So thanks much. Though the fox was markedly happier, Naruto still couldn't help but feel a little disgruntled. There were times I felt like you cheated me to get to 100 quicker. I'm a kitsune. Deal with it. I didn't want to put up with that shithole of a mindscape a day longer than I had to. Naruto rolled his eyes mentally. Whatever. Naruto walked into his classroom and took his seat quietly. Just as he got comfortable, he heard a shout. A certain boy couldn't leave damn well enough alone. Oi. Dead last. This class today is only for those who passed. Kiba shouted, his high volume catching the attention of the whole class. And who the hell died to get you that hit I ate? Naruto ignored the insult, but Shino was the only one noticed that Iruka flinched when Kiba made his last boisterous statement. He would have to find out why later. He could recall the conversation he'd overheard between the blonde and Shikamaru on Friday. Naruto himself had sounded so sure that he was going to fail, and Shino had learned that he had in fact failed. But now, here he was, forehead protector and all. Sasuke took a note of Naruto, seeing him for the first time without his goggles. Sentimental value. My, he must have been hiding his forehead. If he loved his goggles so much, he would have just worn his Hitai somewhere else. In the meantime, whilst everyone else, what to say? Can't tell them about what happened about Mizuki. What's the closest thing to the truth? Naruto passed because he was able to create clones after all. That's why he's here. Iruka lied smoothly, hoping they would buy it. Naruto shared a look with his teacher. The Aburame didn't miss that either, and he frowned behind his shades. Anyway, you are all registered genin. So be quiet and act like it. I'll read out team placements in a minute. Yumino went on, glancing at Naruto. He still seemed indifferent. Where did I go wrong? He waited for the class to hush themselves before taking out the folder with the team information out of his desk and begun to read. Naruto listened to the team placements for 1 through to 6. It was just as he had predicted. All the civilian scores had really rounded off themselves, so they would all be placed on balanced teams. Damn. He loved being a smart, and Kurama caught the thought and added in his 2 cents. Tell me about it. And that's Team 6. Your sensei is, Iruka droned. Okay, Kurama. Let's see if I'm right about the rookie placements. Sakura Haruno, Kiba Inuzuka and Sasuke Uchiha will form Team 7. Your Jonin sensei is Kakashi Hatake. What the hell, Iruka sensei? How am I on the faggot and fangirls team? Can't I get to be on some other team? Kiba complained loudly. Sakura mumbled something about Inu idiots under her breath, and it wasn't too good either. The last Uchiha was perhaps the most displeased of all. If anything, he would have wanted Naruto on his team, simply because he was showing himself more competent of late. Kiba, the teams were created by an average score. We create the teams based on average. Sakura and Sasuke had the best scores while yours was abysmal at best. If anything, they're picking up your slack. Frankly, if we didn't have either of the 2 rookies of the year, then you would have failed the program. Now be quiet. Iruka humiliated the Inuzuka while the class laughed at him. Kiba sat down again in disappointment while Naruto smirked, glad that Inuzuka was getting some comeuppance, though it was his own prodding that had led up to this. Meh, maybe he'll make it up to the guy later or something. Next squad will be composed of Shino Aburame, Hinata Hyuga. Time for the moment of truth, Kurama. Quiet. I want to hear what he's saying. And Naruto Uzumaki. Your Jonin sensei is Kurenai Yuhi. You will compose Team 8. Well. Someone was right on the money. It seems to me that you do have a good head on your shoulders after all. Naruto sighed happily. He had hoped that Hinata would have ended up on his team, since he had decided last week that she was fine in his books. Was there any doubt? My friend, the doubt itself was bigger than my actual size. Team 9 is still in circulation. Team 10 is Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi and Ino Yamanaka. Your Jonin sensei is Asuma Sarutobi. The Kitsune was surprised that Naruto was correct to the letter about his predictions. His analytical skills were impressive. You'll all wait for your Jonin senseis in room 4, Iruka continued. They will arrive just after lunch hour. You're all dismissed, and you have my blessings. He smiled at them all sadly, thinking about how his children were growing up. And good luck being the shinobis of the next generation. X equals X equals. Has anyone ever heard of her before? Naruto put the question out to his teammates. Shino pushed up his glasses before responding. I believe that's she called the upcoming Genjutsu mistress of Konoha, he said simply. I know nothing else. Hi. She is a good friend of my K-Ka-san. Hinata stuttered a bit. Naruto's thoughts were already racing. Hey, Genjutsu you say? Huh. At least I won't be susceptible to it anytime soon. You got my back with that, right Kurama? No. If I keep helping you, you won't really grow. Why start refusing help now? Naruto was confused. 1. Because it's the right thing to do. And I don't have to suck up to you anymore by doing favors. The first reason was enough. Naruto muttered. Excuse me. The Aburame lifted an eyebrow. Naruto caught himself quickly, realizing that he'd spoken out loud. Both reasons are enough. That's what I said. Shino was skeptical but didn't push it too much. As in, she is a genjutsu user and must be really skilled in it if she's dubbed as its mistress. That means that she will fight dominantly with it instead of other techniques. I see. Go on. And, Naruto pointed at Hinata, who blushed a little. If she is on such good terms with your family, maybe you know who could tell us what kind of history this lady's got. I've been told from my Ka-chan that she was very good friends with Kurenai's father when they were on the same team, but he died in the Kyuubi's attack. She also has an intense dislike for perverts. Hinata said. Interesting. Anything else? He tapped his chin with a forefinger. No, Naruto-kun. This woman might probably hate me. She's gotta be in on the secret that you're sealed inside of me, Kurama. Naruto was already leery of his Jonin teacher, and couldn't shake the possibility that this team was already wrecked before he got a chance to create his own shinobi team once he left the village on mission. Maybe it would improve relations with our future sensei if I told her that you're apologetic for your actions. I was being manipulated by that Uchiha. It's not my fault. And besides, Ito could have done something to help the situation, but only made things worse. He killed the only two people who could stop me, your parents. Wouldn't hurt. Wouldn't really help either. What's done was done. As soon as he said this, the bell rung to signal the end of lunchtime and everyone filed inside to room 4. While there, everyone waited for their own senseis in their own way. Some napped, some muttered to their ninja creatures, and yet some others just sat and imagined what their future instructors would be like. Soon, there were only 3 teams left who were still waiting when the door was pushed in by 2 people. The female of the 2 had a fair complexion and she had very distinct red eyes, which were complemented by purple eyeshadow and red lipstick. She possessed long black hair that reached her upper back. She had on mesh armor that was easily visible through her clothing, and only one sleeve that went in tandem with bandages that wrapped from her upper torso to her knees. The man was fairly tall with a somewhat brown complexion with brown eyes, short spiky black hair and a beard. His standard Jonin jacket had bandages around the sleeves and around his waist. He had on a sash with the kanji for fire on it. Team 8. The woman asked. She threw a harsh look at the Uzumaki that everyone noticed. Naruto's eyes widened in recognition, and a loud and silent "no" was on his lips. It was grim. My name is Kurenai Yuhi. I will be your Jonin sensei. Meet me in the "no," someone exclaimed, slamming his hands on the desk and stood. Everyone turned to take notice of the yeller, none other than Naruto himself. I want no part of this team if it means having to put up with her being my sensei. Kurenai was silent. She didn't seem at all surprised to hear this outburst, and this troubled Hinata. She also surprised to see Naruto behave in such a manner. He was cheeky at times, but never an outright rebel. Naruto-san, what is wrong? Shino asked. Nothing is wrong, Naruto said through clenched teeth. Everything is peachy and perfect. Just perfect. Alright brat, what's your damage? Why don't you want her for your sensei? You think we have to let you be a genin? The man said. Don't have to tell them about our own tests yet. Actually, yes, you do have to let me be a genin. After all, if Kumo were to attack Konoha with a couple of Jinchurikis, Naruto trailed off. He knew about the S-rank secret. The Jonin got the message. Their expressions grew cold. The students didn't understand a thing that was going on. Asuma. Let's not waste time with him. Just let him be. Kurenai enjoined to the now named Asuma. What? The man was baffled. Just ignore him. Yeah, that's right, Naruto exclaimed. Just keep doing what you did Thursday. Can someone tell me what the hell is going on? Kiba was completely confused and befuddled, couldn't take any more subtext. From what I can gather, Naruto is upset with Kurenai-sensei due to some incident on Thursday. Shino sounded unsure at first in his explanation, but kept on. Judging from what was said, Naruto must be loath to the circumstance that she may have ignored him on some matter of importance. Hit the nail right on the head, Shino. Naruto said as he sat back down in a huff, still glaring at the red-eyed woman. Kurenai breathed slowly, trying to relax herself. Her first encounter with the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki didn't go well because she had blown him off when he asked for Bunshin ninjutsu help. Admittedly, she probably would have helped him if the creature that resided in him hadn't killed Shinku Yuhi, her own father. What's worse, she didn't even want him on her team, but his scores had perfectly rounded off the other students' scores, ending up being second to last in his class, despite reports of him being the strongest genin of his generation straight from the Hokage's mouth. Just a bit earlier, she had tried to explicate to the Hokage about the fact that there would be friction between herself and the boy, but he still ordered her regardless. Look, Naruto, even if you don't want Kurenai as your sensei, the Sarutobi began. You stay out of this. You did the same thing too. Every one of you people are all the same. Will of fire. Ha. Naruto spat. Suddenly, disappearing and reappearing, the offended Jonin was in front of Naruto and lifted him by his shirt collar. You will show respect to your superiors, brat. Now either go with Kurenai, he looked to the woman by the door. Or sit out another year in the academy, Asuma averred unnervingly, leaking just enough killing intent to frighten any and all genin present. He wasn't about to take any bullshit from a fresh genin, Jinchuriki or not, just because he felt biased against. Naruto wasn't fazed. He merely looked over to Kiba, as if deliberately ignoring the man lifting him up bodily. Hey Kiba, looks like you can leave Team 7 and join Team 8. Seems more your type anyway. All around there were now whisperings of the development, of how Naruto was willing to sit out a third tenure in the academy. But even so, he continued. In a class of 20 being split into 9 teams, subtracting myself from that equation will upset that balance. That means, 2 of us are going to have to sit out another year with him, Shikamaru finished, having brought himself to be concerned enough about the situation. It's either that or he passes with us. A team has to start with 3 genin. How troublesome this is, Shikamaru said aloud, shocking the rest of the group present. Why is Naruto-kun so bitter? Hinata thought. Just when she was going to ask him why, Naruto batted Asuma's hand from off of him, and stormed out of the room while giving Kurenai a wide berth, shooting her an angry look as he left. Well, Kurama, guess you're right. Forgive and forget really is impossible for me. Told you. Naruto mumbled heatedly under his breath as he subconsciously started moving the swing he was seated on. How was he supposed to forget all the wrongs done to him when he could remember everything vividly as if it had happened only a minute before? Anyone who preached love and forgiveness must have never had memory like his. Why was everything so goddamn complicated? Kiba came out of the school with his Ninken Akamaru by his side, and Naruto took notice of them immediately. The dog had his nose close to the ground, apparently tracking a scent. Naruto watched them as Kiba apparently spotted him before his dog, and told him. With that done, he patted his dog and allowed him to jump onto his head, before the two came over, whereupon Kiba then took a seat on a tree root beside the whiskered boy. They sat there in silence for 3 minutes before Kiba tried to break it. So what was that all about, Naruto? Kiba asked. What was what? Naruto feigned ignorance. He knew what he meant. He was merely trying to delay the conversation, least of all with Kiba of all people. That shit you just pulled in there. It's just one big awful mess in there. People are in there arguing who sits out another year with you. What that all about? Kiba yelled. Naruto groaned inwardly. There was just no going around this. Fine, I'll talk. Just keep your damn voice down. The Inuzuka still felt put off by the new Naruto. Nonetheless, he would go along. He still wanted some answers. Okay, he said quietly. You remember the test on Friday? I failed the exam because I couldn't create 3 bunchins. Naruto started. Yeah, who could forget that? You're the only who failed that. Kiba chuckled. Naruto wasn't amused. You're the only one to fail the written exam, Naruto remarked, much to Kiba's chagrin. I just didn't get a chance to study, that's all, he answered lamely. I was polishing my taijutsu. Still passed overall, though. The kitsune inside the seal who was listening in on the conversation was impressed. His cantainer's ability to read people was scary good. Naruto smirked inwardly. Yeah, anyway, I knew I was probably going to fail that part of the ninjutsu exam, so I went around asking for help the day before. I asked a lot of ninja, including those 2 ninja, but they all refused. Hey, I get it. Even if somehow managed to learn that jutsu overnight, you're just pissed because that woman who was supposed to be your sensei now didn't even give you the time of day before. Kiba could relate somewhat. No one really helped him with his training until he was named clan heir when his sister didn't want the training or responsibilities. Yeah, Naruto appreciated the fact that Kiba wasn't thick all the time. Alright, Naruto sighed. No one helped me. I had to learn the technique on my own, and to tell the truth, it's a little better than the one they taught us in the academy. If you don't know how I got to learn it, then you're probably not meant to know. It's a bit of a secret, Naruto said quietly. He quickly made a clone and told Kiba to take a punch from it. The ignorant Inuzuka complied, thinking that it would pass by him. Fortunately, the clone decided to just thump the boy on the shoulder instead of causing real damage. Kuso. That's impressive. Can I learn it? No. I just have a lot of chakra that allows me to create these clones. You probably won't be able to create them until you're about, say, 15 years old. Kiba was about to argue, but stopped to consider the chakra reason. It was true that the clone jutsu required a small amount of chakra, and people who couldn't create them were often people with too much chakra, his mother had explained once. If that was Naruto's reason, since it concurred with his mother's explanation, then the guy wasn't lying. But still, maybe you could just forgive and forget even this time, huh? Naruto growled when he heard that, thinking that the phase was getting to be both ironic as well as reoccurring. I don't think it's fair for to hold a grudge against a teacher to the point of making two of us sit it out with you for another year. Damn it. Even Hinata's looking like she's about to start crying in there thinking she won't progress, you know. Other people have to put up with your shit too. It's not fair. Not fair. Not fair. Where the hell the shopkeepers when I needed food? Where the hell's the orphanage when I needed someone to care? Where the is help when I'm about to get murdered? You need to get your facts straight before you come talk to me about what is or isn't fair. Naruto blew his stack but was coming down from his emotional high. For all I know, you could be the one who's worried for his position, given the fact that you're dead last in the class right now. Damn, Naruto. People tell me I'm a prick, but you're acting even worse. I don't know what the hell your problem is, but don't take it out on me. Kiba stood up and dusted the seat of his pants and left without so much as a backwards glance. You know, he's right about that, Kurama suddenly said. What? I mean, let it go, or at least pretend to. Everyone is really getting wary of you now. You could lose your Hitai if the Hokage thinks you're unstable because of your anger. Then what about the Uchiha? Naruto asked, upset now. I've never seen him lose his temper, but you did, you lost it in there. And you are known to have a certain nine-tailed fox jailed in you. It won't look good for you to get angry. I mean, if the Hokage was here watching that little spat between you and Kiba, he'd start thinking that the seal was breaking or something. He would think that, not necessarily act on a hunch. He is dubbed as the professor, you know. He'd want to get his facts straight first. Well, at least join the team. You're depriving your teammates of a chance to further their careers, the fox argued. I'm postponing their deaths. You're starting to sound really selfish. Me? Selfish? Am I being judged by a Biju who nearly leveled the whole village? Naruto grumbled. Be that as it may, just join the team. You can quit it at any time. Yeah, I don't do quitting. That's not my thing. Fine. You can leave the team or threaten to leave the ninja program. After all, to lose their own Jinchuriki would make them lose an edge in heavy conflict, and they could straighten that Yuhi woman if she doesn't live up to your expectations. Maybe, it's not as if people like you enough to do something like this for your sake, but it's something that is worth thinking about. Naruto did stop to think about that suggestion. It sounded reasonable. If worse came to worst, they would simply replace the sensei or put him on another team. He knew that life in the village didn't stop just because he failed his exam, but there had to be some important people who would stop to consider his situation, right? Alright. But let me see what's happening first. I'll send a clone. Just go as yourself. But, go. Kurama roared. Reluctantly, Naruto went back inside the school and made his way back to class. He knew that they couldn't try to harm him. If they did, they'd find out just how much strength he really had. He pushed open the door to see Kurenai sitting beside Hinata, who was looking rather disheveled alongside Shino. Team 7 seated themselves on the far side of the room, but Team 10 and that supposed Asuma man was gone. Maybe Hinata was really crying. Not tears, just agitated. But the damn woman shares a close bond with Hinata through her mother. The Uzumaki took his seat warily beside his team and waited for someone to speak. And sure enough, Kurenai did. Naruto, she began. I apologize. I'm sorry. Sorry for blowing me off. Or sorry that you won't get to have Hinata-chan on your team. The boy shot back with a glare. Kurenai stopped. There was a troubling thought. But she wouldn't lie, regardless of the consequences. If he could figure out why she was sorry, then chances are that he could catch her in a lie. For Hinata. Thought so. Nonetheless, I've been convinced by someone to suffer being on a team with you as my sensei so as to not deprive my teammates of a genin squad. Kiba, who had been listening, lifted his hand triumphantly. Not you, Kiba, said Naruto, noticing but not even looking at the Inuzuka. Someone else. Who is this person? Shino asked. I'm not at liberty to say. Shall we go, Kurenai-sensei? Naruto could barely say the last part, an obvious sign to everyone that he was extremely unwilling. Kurenai observed him for a bit longer. She was told that he was a happy-go-lucky. Perhaps the Mizuki incident had changed him more than everyone had originally thought. She stood up and beckoned for them to follow her. Perhaps if they got to know each other they would have a smoother relationship. Not that she wanted to have one. It was just the Hokage's orders. X equals X equals. So tell me about yourselves. Name, likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams. Shino, why don't you start first? They were all seated on a convenient log in front of their sensei that chose to stand. At present, they were going through some mini introductions that were supposed to improve team synergy. My name is Shino Aburame. I like to spend time organizing and cataloging insects I come across. I dislike those who misjudge myself and my clan. My likes and hobbies are the same. My dream is to become a good clan head. Naruto gave Shino a friendly fist bump on the Aburame's shoulder and grinned widely. You don't like people who misjudge you. I think we're gonna get along just fine. I won't judge you if you don't judge me. Deal. What? Why would he be judged? This must be tied to the conversation I had my insects eavesdrop on when he was speaking to Kiba. Very well, Naruto-san. Alright. Hinata, why don't you go next? Kurenai suggested. Hi. My name is Hinata Hyuga. I like being with my parents and I like cinnamon buns. My dislikes are those who think my kindness is weakness and I don't like my family's segregation with the seal. My hobbies are flower pressing. My dream is T2. She looked at Naruto and blushed deeply. I am not sure what is I want to do, but there are things TT that I want. Sorry if that sounds strange. Naruto blinked and shrugged. Inside the seal, the monstrous Kitsune sighed. Even with his spiked intelligence, Naruto was still a complete dunce. Perhaps he would learn something about love when the library clones finally dispelled. Who knows how long that would take? Since it's my turn, I'll just start. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like to train in, well, pretty much anything that involves me getting stronger, and I'm not too shy about learning either, especially after my wake-up call last week. My dislikes are those who judge me, including biased teachers due to my status. He stared at the teacher pointedly, but she ignored him. My hobbies and likes are the same. My ambition. I guess I'm like Hinata-chan. I don't really have any dreams or ambitions, but I am looking for someone, and not for good reasons. That's all. Alright. Kurenai clapped her hands, trying to dismiss the vague note that the Uzumaki had left in the air. The three of you have one final test. The original plan was to have the three of you to attack me using teamwork by attempting to take these bells. She took 2 bells from her weapons pouch. But all 3 of you know due to the earlier incident in room 4 that a team has to have 3 students under a teacher. So instead, I want all 3 of you to fight me with the intent to kill, only so that I can get to see your current level of progress. I'll call the session quits if I've seen enough. The red-eyed woman looked to her students, seeing them all stand up to ready themselves in some fashion. Shino whispered to his insects and Hinata activated her Byakugan while Naruto performed the ram seal to call forth his chakra. Judging by his intensity, she could tell that the boy was going to start using jutsus left, right and center. Begin. Shino and Hinata jumped into the trees to hide while Naruto sat back on the log. Yuhi glared at the boy whom she believed was lackadaisical. Well, oh. The test stops when you say you've seen enough. I can already beat a Chunin, that much is obvious, even if it was just a passing chance. If you really want me to fight seriously, I could probably level this whole training ground, might even kill you. His face brightened a little at the thought, and the expression only served to upset the woman. Probably won't, though. Kurenai scoffed. You level this whole training ground. She doubted it. Even if he beat Mizuki, the Chunin's skills were slightly dulled. Notwithstanding this, Naruto had only just made genin. As for what she knew about him, it was that he knew that he was now a ninja, and that he knew his status. Perhaps he could have learnt something dangerous from the scroll of seals while he still had it, besides the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, anyways, according to what the Hokage had said. But who was to say that he hadn't learnt others? Naruto smirked. I don't want to be arrogant. He formed the cross ram seal, and going along with this cue, the Kyuubi helped him to convert his chakra into elements necessary for the element-specific clones. 6 bunshins formed around him. You guys know what to do. Water. Fight her with the Tonto. She'll think you're more dangerous and try to take you out first. Just make sure she gets wet. Hey, stop laughing, you perv. Lightning. You'll fight her with the baton. Enforce it with Raiden chakra. If it hits her, she'll get electrocuted. If that fails, the wind clone will do a collaboration jutsu with the fire clone. I'll throw some weapons from afar to distract her with the normal Kage Bunshin. The Iwa clone will try to hold her legs using the Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, double decapitation suicide technique, if I have to go through with the final technique to blow everything up. Everyone got that? Yeah, they all exclaimed mentally. Too loud in Naruto's opinion actually. The woman watched Naruto and his clones just stand there before 2 of them came to fight her while another 3 jumped into the tress, making sure to keep her eyes on the real one. The one with the Tonto made a horizontal swipe with it in no predetermined stance. The clone did it on purpose, allowing the woman to easily dispose of him. But she didn't right away. Instead, she toyed with him and made fun of his earlier claims of being stronger than he appeared. She played right into it. This is pathetic. The Sweden clone had no response except to continue slashing at her wildly. She quickly took out her kunai and blocked a slash aimed at her throat. Oh hell, he really intended to follow through with killing me. The boy had both his hands on his Tonto, his right on the handle and the left palm on the flat of the blade, and tried to push her kunai out of the way. But she wasn't an elite jonin for nothing. She let his Tonto slide off the kunai, making him waste his pushing effort. She then punched him in the jaw, feeling a bit satisfied and comfortable in her superiority. But her hand came away wet. Water bunshin was her last thought before she was suddenly soaked with chakra-created water. She didn't understand the purpose of this but couldn't afford to underestimate him. She readied a genjutsu and was about to cast it on herself to make her seem as if she disappeared when she had to suddenly duck a baton. The other clone who had rushed her earlier but stayed out of the action now tried to strike her with his blunt weapon. The woman raised her arm to block it since it wasn't sharp, but she instantly regretted the action. The damn thing hurt like hell. The boy started to subtle channel chakra into it, ensuring that she would more likely be hurt even more if he scored another hit. The red-eyed woman caught the baton on his next swing and kneed him in the gut. She didn't feel any remorse. After all, the boy possessed the spirit that killed her father, and provided her with the extra drive that she was dealing out some wretched justice to the brat. However, she literally received a shocking surprise when the boy exploded into electricity and electrocuted her. With a scream of pain, the woman exploded into smoke, revealing that she had substituted for a log. The woman walked out from behind a tree, unscathed. Naruto lifted an eyebrow from where he watched the woman re-enter the clearing. That was all well and good. He didn't expect to get her on the first try. Suddenly he got memories of the clone he had sent to talk to Hinata and Shino. They had agreed to his plan. He readied 3 kunais with bomb tags in his right hand and started to count time in his head. Let everyone wait for the signal. In the meantime, the woman watched the final 2 Narutos in the clearing. They still hadn't moved. It was a bit unnerving, seeing them just stare at her like that. She wouldn't underestimate him again. He took this a bit too seriously. The clones jumped apart and started going through hand seals. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu. Fire release. Great fireball technique. One blew a rather large fireball, and it followed with a flamethrower. Futon. Datapa. Wind release. Great breakthrough, the other shouted and proceeded to blow a gale force wind that kept getting stronger and encircled her. She didn't even blink when the fireball hit the wind maelstrom that turned into a giant inferno. Pour it on. The fire clone yelled, before creating another fireball. Suddenly 3 kunai sailed out of the forest canopy into the collaboration jutsu and the tags on them exploded, courtesy of Naruto himself. That pretty much guaranteed that if Kurenai was in there, she was only coming out in a bag. But she was a Jonin after all, Naruto thought to himself. People didn't get to that rank by making foolish mistakes. The 2 clones dispelled, one into fire and the other into wind, leaving the genin to wait for the smoke to clear so they could see the results. Kurenai walked out of the still clearing smoke and disappeared. Shit. Genjutsu. Where is she? Naruto looked around and heard fighting to the south end of the training ground. After using chakra to augment his leg muscles, he dashed to a tree that was overlooking the area. It seemed that Hinata and Shino had been discovered and were fighting the red-eyed woman. Even though they had had the numerical advantage, they were still too weak to overpower her. The woman danced in and around Hinata's Juken strikes and cuffed her in the chest, almost like a push away from herself. The woman then kicked away Shino's right leg in the same breath and punched him in the gut. The hapless boy transformed into a swarm of insects. In the same instant, Shino suddenly dropped on the branch beside Naruto, startling him. Shit. Naruto hissed fiercely before he saw who it was. What the hell, Shino? She has defeated my insect bunshin. Presently, my strongest insects are in her, more hard to reach areas feeding on her chakra. Soon she'll be weak. Do you have a plan? I don't have a plan. Only an idea. But it's overkill. Naruto gave the boy next to him an intent look. Think I should do it? When Shino asked how strong this powerful move was going to be, Naruto replied, powerful enough for you to leave this training ground altogether. The Aburame stared at him, trying to look for evidence of a lie, but couldn't find any. He's serious. What scared him was that Naruto actually had firm belief in what he was going to do, and that he was willing to go through with it. Very well. What do we do? Get Hinata out of here. I'm going to throw kunai and shuriken to stall Kurenai. The Aburame nodded and jumped down to join Hinata. Well, Kurama, what do you think? Personally, I think it's too over the top. And that's coming from a Biju who raised the village. The fox suddenly laughed. Do it. Naruto grinned. He started chucking all his kunai and shuriken at Kurenai, occupying her while Shino grabbed Hinata and leapt away with her. He started counting to 20. I never actually did this before. Hope I don't get myself killed. Comma. The sensei continued dodging weapons thrown at her. Some were thrown aimed at her chest, some at her legs and others around her. It felt as if he was driving her, somewhere. Suddenly, she felt 2 legs grab her ankles and drag her underground till only her head was left above ground. What? Naruto dropped down of a tree in front of her and slow clapped. Well, Kurenai-sensei. Here we are. You are about to find out about my final and most destructive technique. Just so you know, it doesn't really matter if I'm right, but I love proving people wrong. The woman merely looked at him, uninterested. But she was actually reading a substitution if she got an injury. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. He yelled as he formed the ram seal and strained. Soon, his features grew feral, red eyes and whiskers and all. The woman could no longer feign disinterest. As the seal breaking, suddenly, an immense amount of clones puffed into existence. The woman gasped. It was surreal. The boy was practically his own army. There were hundreds, probably even thousands of them. They took up every available space, on the ground, in the trees, everywhere. Suddenly the original Naruto shinned off while Yuhi still gaped. Where is he going? She did not like this situation and she quickly substituted with a nearby clone and got out of the hole. So this is your plan? To try and overwhelm me with numbers? She smirked. This might have been the tactic that he used to beat Mizuki, she thought, but it wouldn't work. She could easily outmaneuver them all if she had to, or to simply use another genjutsu. No. If it were that, the boss wouldn't have left. This is far too dangerous. What? Too dangerous for Naruto to stay. The woman grew worried. Suddenly all the feral clones formed the ram seal and started glowing a faint white. The woman's eyes grew wide when she heard what the clones shouted next. Cage Bunshin Daibakuha equals X equals X equals. It was a fairly ordinary day in Konohagakure. Business people were haggling, customers buying, akamichis were eating, and naris were lazing around and the like. There was absolutely nothing that would or could break the peace of a typical Monday. Naruto came out of his shunshin and appeared at Training Ground 3. The boy was about to see if the concept of having a localized and concentrated blast of exploding clones was as capable as he believed. He couldn't wait. Suddenly, he heard a massive shout that was carried over the wind. Taju Kage Bunshin Daibakuha. Then there was pure, unadulterated silence. Only for a moment. The air seemingly tensed before ultimate chaos ensued and reigned supreme for what seemed for eternity. A massive chakra-created explosion centered in Training Ground 4 rippled through it, destroying all that was caught up in its maelstrom. The white plume of the explosion that climbed into the sky could be seen by anyone in the village who was outside at the time. Hell yes. Boom. This tops every jutsu I have ever done or seen. Naruto was ecstatic. He was never going to forget it. He sighed, coming down from his frenzied high. But he didn't stop to think of the consequences. Not really. Right at that moment, per se. Equals X equals X equals. Frankly, this is the stupidest thing you have ever done, Naruto. Hiruzen didn't know what to feel. Angry that Naruto destroyed a whole training ground, sad that Naruto had lied about what he had learnt, happy that Naruto was now really strong enough to take care of himself, or pissed that this situation was going to cause a shitload of paperwork. The damn thing was practically multiplying on his desk every time he blinked his eyes. The old man put on the face required by his office that screamed, "Naruto, you've really stepped in it this time." But the boy had no regrets marring his countenance. It was an awesome and a destructive technique when clones were used in bulk. Even if he had to replant and grow every tree that was blown up into splinters, he would do it happily. Naruto was seated in front of the Hokage while Kurenai and the rest of Team 8 stood behind him. And behind them were Shibi Aburame and Hiashi Hyuga. No doubt that they were angry that Naruto nearly blew their children to smithereens. Thinking of the future repercussions, the aged Sarutobi couldn't help but sigh. Naruto, did you even stop to think of the complications and consequences? Naruto was impassive. Hokage-sama, I did stop to think about them before I did the jutsu. If I had used offensive elemental bunshins like Raiden or Kaden clones, the damage would have been significantly greater and possibly start a forest fire that would spread to other training grounds. Elemental bunshins used in a Daibakuha. Hiruzen nearly paled at concept. That may be, Naruto, but the fact remains why you did it at all. Naruto was prepared for that one. Kurenai-sensei told us to go for broke. So I did. The laws state that if one leaf ninja kills another leaf ninja by any means other than self-defense, the killer's life is forfeit. It's not as if it's murder. She told us to do it. Even if a mere genin had killed my Jonin sensei who practically told us to try and kill her had succeeded in doing so, 1, it wouldn't have been murder, and 2, it would have meant that the standards for Jonin quality is looking pretty low. Kurenai nodded. That was true. Then what of Hinata, you wretch? Was her life forfeit in your attempts to kill your sensei? Hiashi spat. Did you not care if anything were to befall her? Shibi spoke up for the first time. That's not entirely true, Hiashi-san. He pushed his shades a bit farther up his nose while speaking. My son told me that Naruto warned him that his next technique would be quite potent and told him to leave with Hinata-san. In fact, he went on to explain that he got out of the blast radius with a bit more than enough time to spare. Are you defending the boy's inappropriate use of destructive techniques, Shibi-san? Hiashi glared. No. With all things considered, however, Naruto-san did nothing wrong. They were on a training ground doing a training exercise. The teacher's words, in a sense, stated that each person should give his best, and Naruto honored the demand. Naruto told everyone of his potentially destructive jutsu, even going as far as to warn them beforehand. No one perished, or even injured. The only expense was the training ground, which, Shibi trailed off. Has no owners. Naruto finished. Sarutobi sighed. They were correct on all points. The training ground was free for everyone to use. If you got injured there, it was basically your own fault. If no one owned the land, no one could be sued for injuries sustained there. Furthermore, since no one owned the land, Naruto didn't have to pay anyone for any damages. In short, Naruto blew a training ground to hell and he got to walk away whistling, scot-free. He needed to find some way to amend that loophole. Later. These are all true statements. Naruto has nothing binding him to any problems. Hiruzen stated. He looked at everyone's reaction. Shibi, Shino and Naruto were emotionless, Hiashi was giving a death stare at the blonde, Hinata was uneasy, and Kurenai seemed a bit upset. She had probably wanted the boy to get some sort of punishment for actually coming close to putting her down. Probably because Naruto didn't get into trouble. She still needs to pull her act together and look past his prisoner's sins. The Sandame thought. Shibi-san, Hiashi-san, you're free to leave. The clan heads left, leaving Team 8 with the Hokage. Kurenai, would you recount what had transpired? Hiruzen asked. The red-eyed woman obliged and told him of all what had happened. The only details she spared were her feelings for the boy at the time. Naruto suspected her anyway, and besides, she was sure the Hokage knew them already. When I realized the jutsu, I performed a quick shunshin, not heeding where I would end up. However, I arrived at Training Ground 7, interrupting Team 7's meeting and introductions. That's the conclusion, Hokage-sama. The Hokage seemed to be in deep thought. So what is your assessment of their skills? The genin looked to their teacher, two of them hoping they made a good impression. The third one, in particular, didn't care much either way. Shino shows promise in his clan's techniques, maintaining a somewhat pacifist behavior in fighting. He uses his clan's insects in an effort to weaken and incapacitate me beforehand. Hinata also shows some skill in using the gentle fist. However, she lacks confidence to fully follow through with her more debilitating jabs. I think that could be remedied over time. Naruto demonstrates fairly good tactics, diversity in fighting, and is overall a heavy hitter. In force alone, Naruto could be Jonin level, while his tactics are Chunin level. Unfortunately, he lacks experience on a real battlefield, so he may only appear excellent on paper. Kurenai said. Naruto grumbled to himself about the last part. Even when he knew he was strong, she was using not so subtle insinuations to tear him down. I knew that if Kiba had been on this team, we would have been a tracker team, but I believe we are well rounded this way. I am a genjutsu expert. Shino has tracking abilities, Hinata is versed in taijutsu and can use her Byakugan for censoring, and Naruto will be a ninjutsu brawler. We would be able to be effective in combat at all ranges and situations. Naruto opened his eyes a little wider. So, she is somewhat happy to be on this team, even with me. Perhaps I could try to make this work after all. The Hokage made a note of what she said. Interesting. It seems that your theory has merit. Very well. So I take it that you will pass this team. Hi, Hokage-sama. You may leave, Team 8. Kurenai turned to her team. We shall meet for training at 7 a.m. at Training Ground 4. It's destroyed. Remember. Naruto smirked. Kurenai stared at the boy frigidly. We'll meet at Training Ground 3 instead. The team collected themselves and ushered their way through the door, Naruto last. As he was about to step through, the Hokage called out. Naruto, I wish to speak to you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Hi, Hokage-sama. Naruto remained formal. He left, and shut the door behind him. He's still so non-casual with me. Is it because he found out about the fox in a more disastrous fashion than hearing it from me? The Hokage could only ruminate on his radical theories. Before he could get any further, the door pushed open to reveal his secretary with a stack of papers which she placed on his desk. Most of that consists of complaints regarding the explosion at Training Ground 4, Hokage-sama, not to mention the Shinobi's concerns that we might be under attack. Hiruzen sighed. It had been a bare half-hour since the explosion and there was this much paperwork regarding it. He really needed to throw his hat to some other poor sap. X equals X equals. He walked around aimlessly around the commercial area of Konoha. He could see the young people fraternizing, businesses thriving, overall, everyone was happy. Damn. It really wasn't fair. Why did everyone else get to be happy when he didn't? These are unsafe waters, boy. What? Why would you think of their happiness? It would only cause the opposite to you. Why would you even want happiness? Do you want to be happy? Naruto stopped. Did he want to be happy? He wanted to answer yes, but the fox never asked him a question like that unless it was to make him think. Naruto hazarded his answer. Hi. Why? And don't give me that life isn't fair crap. Kuso. I lived on my own. Kurama. I've had the shit beaten out of me as a child. I went hungry without food, got sick eating spoilt food, wear rags for clothes. I think I deserve some happiness. I've had it coming to me for a long time. When the hell is it gonna get here? Kurama nodded. Happiness is also a foolish emotion. It clouds judgment, creates insecurities about future problems, causes complacency, and the list goes on. Frankly, have you forgotten being a happy idiot? No. But it's still not fair though. I'm not asking for endless happiness, just a little. I can't even call the Sandame Gigi anymore. While I knew about you, I didn't know about an S-ranked secret that I wasn't meant to know. Even if he had told me himself and that I couldn't blab it out to everyone, it wouldn't have been so bad. Oh, cry me a river. Why couldn't I have been sealed in someone more emotionally stable? It just had to be some poor kid bemoaning his hand in life. Naruto chuckled. Shut up. At least we're friends, Kurama. Not everyone can boast about having a Biju for a friend, you know. Kurama grinned. Friends. I prefer acquaintances or even business partners. Not friends. Naruto sighed. The fox was probably kidding. He continued walking, ignoring all the glares and hushed whispers. He couldn't be hurt. Not anymore. If a ninja was attacked by civilians, he could defend himself, just short of killing. If someone wanted to get physical, Naruto would be sure to break a few bones. He was soon stopped by his growling stomach. He needed to get some food now, and some food for home. His eyes soon fell on a dango shop, combined with a bar inside. Dango. He raised an eyebrow. Might as well. It's not like they can throw me out like when I was smaller. He made his way to it and entered. The shop was moderately full, indicating popularity and prosperity. Looking around for the counter, trying to pierce the gathering with his eyes, he soon found it and made his way to it. He ordered a dozen skewers of the treat they specialized in, and by luck, the person serving there didn't recognize his face due to their short-sightedness. He was about to leave with his bag of the food when he heard his name called. Naruto. A minute of your time. He looked over to where he heard the voice and cursed under his breath. Why were they, of all people, calling to him? He didn't want anything to do with them unless it was absolutely necessary. But he couldn't pretend that he didn't notice them. He had already seen them, and they knew that. Shit. Just see what they want. If it lasts longer than you wish it to be, just complain that they said a minute, and that you're busy. Simple. Just be a douche, the nine-tailed fox urged. Naruto sighed. May as well see what they want. The boy with the vulpine visage sauntered over to the three jonin who were speaking in hushed tones with each other. Apparently Kurenai did not want to talk with him, but Asuma had insisted. The third person with the mask and gravity-defying gray hair merely looked at Naruto with interest. Naruto pulled up the fourth empty chair and sat in it, scrutinizing the jonin. So, what? Gonna invite me to a frat? Asuma faked a smile at the boy's jeer. Kurenai stared at him with her usual unnerving gaze, and Kakashi took out his worn-looking orange book labeled, Ika Ika Paradise. Probably his way of being casual and indifferent, or to make it look like he's not looking directly at me, Naruto thought. Well, I believe that we got off to a poor understanding of each other. Asuma began. I apologize for refusing help when you needed it, and I hope for it to not reoccur. I didn't mean to become tempestuous. Naruto nodded slowly. I'm sorry too. I should have reined in my emotions better and not let my frustration get the best of me. I'm also sorry for insulting my superiors and insulting the village's ideals. It's kind of hard to not think that everyone's out to get me because I'm a Jinchuriki, you know. But I'll never forget. Asuma raised an eyebrow. While I'm glad that it's now water under the bridge, what do you mean when you say you'll never forget? Naruto smirked, finally able to brag about himself a little. Let's just say that I'm a savant. A really damned good one. Kakashi raised his visible eyebrow. I find that hard to believe, considering what I've heard pertaining to your abysmal grades at the academy. But I need to look underneath the underneath. Something feels oddly familiar. Minato once claimed that he himself needed to become a savant. Well, let's see if my memory serves me well enough. You are Kakashi Hatake, dubbed as the copycat ninja, due to having a transplanted Sharingan that was used to copy numerous jutsus. Son of Tsukumo Hatake, Konoha's White Fang. Genin teammates were Rin Nohara and Obito Uchiha who, Naruto hesitated, not knowing how the man was coping with the death of his squad. Perished during the Third Great Shinobi War. The team's Jonin sensei was Minato Namikaze, who later became the fourth Hokage. I think that those are the more important details, right? The three Jonin were surprised. This was supposed to be the Academy's dead last. Asuma Sarutobi also has an equally impressive history, becoming one of the Fire Daimyo's guardian shinobi 12. Unfortunately, all I could find on Sensei was that she was your Genin teammate, along with Rado Namiyashi. Sorry Kurenai Sensei, you're, only a bit better known than the average shinobi. Maybe it's for the best. I'm sure you wouldn't want someone out for your head. Or thinking that you're easy pickings, he mumbled the last under his breath, but she must have heard it or read his lips. The marring scowl on her face was a testament to this. Asuma frowned. Well, you're right on all the details. Kurenai glared at Asuma, who quickly went on. But why do you make it sound like you have it in for her, even going as far as to level a whole training ground in a training exercise? I don't really just dislike her. I dislike you all equally. He grinned wryly at this. It keeps me unbiased. Maybe you none at all since we apologize to each other and all. Naruto stated matter-of-factly. The question remains. Why? Kakashi asked. He really didn't want his sensei's son to be at odds with him. Minato was probably the closest thing Kakashi could call a friend. Family, even. She was prejudiced against me for having the Kyuubi in me. You all did. So I decided to use exploding clones. If she had taught me the regular Bunshin, the explosion wouldn't have happened. Hell, I learned more in the Mizuki incident in a single night more than I have learned my whole life in Konoha. So anytime Sensei sees me use clones or do well in general, she won't be able to take credit for it. It will be a lasting reminder of what she did, or didn't do. That goes for all of you, including you Kakashi. So you blew up a training ground because Kurenai doesn't seem to like you. That's petty. Asuma concluded. And stupidly dangerous. I don't like people who don't like me. It's common sense and karma, not being petty. Meanwhile, on the inside, Kurama was trying to puzzle out a way to ease Naruto's cohesion with his Genin team. Chances were that if he didn't do something, Naruto's friction with Kurenai would get them both into trouble, and they needed to get out of the village on a mission soon. Boy, tell the woman that I'm sorry for her father. Tell them I was merely seeking revenge against the village. Anything but the truth about the Uchiha's control 12 years ago, or Ito. Naruto. You spaced out a little. Asuma said. Naruto didn't want to even think about Kurama's sudden change of heart. Perhaps he felt guilty about causing Naruto's sensei to dislike him, or just simply lying. Whatever, the Kyuubi had never lied to him before or steered him wrong. It didn't matter. He'll just go with it and see what happens. Kurenai sensei. The woman looked at him intently, listening. Sorry for trying to blow you up, Naruto deadpanned. Kakashi and the Sarutobi chuckled. And, he leaned forward and beckoned the woman to come closer as well, which she did. Furry 9 just said that he apologizes for your father. It was nothing personal. He was just out for revenge on the village on a whole because Hashirama and Madara used him like a tool. Kurenai widened her eyes. What? Naruto leaned back and stood. Well, gotta go. See ya. He took up his bag of dango and left the establishment, waving his hand backwards as he did. Asuma. Kakashi. Kurenai looked towards the exit where she saw Naruto had left through before turning back to her fellow senseis. He just told me that the Kyuubi is sorry about my 2-san. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. Are you sure that Naruto didn't just say that to get into your good graces? After all, he seems well informed. It could be that he found out about your father through some research. Naruto doesn't seem to be the type to lie, much less needlessly. Asuma argued. Besides, it's not as if he would try to make amends, just to be on familiar terms with Kurenai. He hates her, and that much is obvious. It's something to think about. If what he said is true, then the Kyuubi must be on regular speaking terms with Naruto. What if it's trying to trick him? Or worse, what if the seal is failing? Kakashi asked. This is troubling. We have to inform the Hokage. Well, in any case, whether Naruto is telling the truth or not, or if the fox is sincere or not, I'll consider the thought. I'll tell the Hokage myself. Kurenai got up, waved to her friends and left in a body flicker. X equals X equals. Naruto sat on the park bench and took his vitamin supplements. He needed to bring his body back up to speed as quickly as possible now that he was a fully fledged ninja. He began to eat his dango and found that he enjoyed it, albeit a little too sweet. I'll burn it off in training though. Anyway, do you think they'll tell the Hokage about the apology, Kurama? Probably. It's also a good way to tell the Hokage that he could have been more informative. Then again, you can't really hold it against him though. After all, would you tell an S-ranked secret to your former idiotic persona? Naruto stopped chewing in a pause to consider this. No. The great fox grunted. Well, try to contact the clones, check in on their progress. Naruto considered the idea. All right. He tried to focus on his clones. He didn't have names to them. He could only identify them by their duty. Hello. Hospital clone. What's going on? What? Oh. Thought I was being haunted or something. Listen. I need you over here within the hour. Or make another clone to replace me. Why? I learned 2 medical jutsus over here and I've had to practice it in front of a nurse. I'm gonna run out of chakra soon. Naruto realized the dilemma. Alright. Tell them that you're going for some fresh air in exactly half hour. What does your transformation look like? The clone imagined his description. You see it. Yeah. Naruto chewed on another skewer of the dango. You'll see another clone then. You can dispel then. Let him learn the jutsu through the usual memory transfer and everyone is happy. Niece. By the way, you better eat your dinner and go to bed early. I've seen people after surgery. Trust me, it's disgusting, and you'll probably end up vomiting or straight up lose your appetite. Do you have any idea how up a cancerous intestinal system looks? Naruto did a double take. I'll keep that in mind. Now, what about the library clones? Yeah, Kurama interjected. This is still messed up. You're talking to yourself. Shut up, Kurama. Everyone yelled in thought. It's not funny. Anyway, what were you saying, clone number 1? Hey, wait a minute. The other library clone hollered in mind speak. Why the hell am I number 2? Stay out of this. 2 clone. The first clone apparently yelled. I don't need the headache. Whatever. What were you saying? Naruto interrupted, hoping that they'd get to the point. We're making good headway. I read 40 books since Saturday and my fellow clone here read around 36. Some of them were really thick books. I actually read more than you. Naruto sighed, already feeling a migraine starting to brew up. Continue number 1. The librarian let us stay reading at night though. He mentioned that someone else did what we're doing now. The Yondaime. Naruto raised an eyebrow. He did what we're doing now. Hi. We'll last for another week though. Gonna need some more chakra by Saturday. That's fine. I'll swing by then. Okay. Naruto tried mentally reaching for the last clone in the orphanage, but couldn't. Guess it doesn't apply to that one. After all, Kurama made him years ago, and he's not really a Kage Bunshin. Naruto shook his head. Life was certainly getting interesting. Never a dull moment. There wasn't any pauses, though. Ito was out there, somewhere. He needed to find him and end him. His eyes snapped open, only to close them again in a squint. Having to wake up only to have the sun glare him back in the face wasn't his thing. In fact, he tended to move mostly at night because he disliked the daytime. In this instance, however, he had decided to set up camp in the desert, and lay down in his pallet belly up. His joints made little popping noises as he stood up and roused himself out of his sleep-induced lethargy. Hey, guess I just had to sleep out in the open, huh? What's the saying say? Where you make your bed is where you have to lie in it. What time is it? He said to himself. Not getting an answer, he got riled. What time is it? He shouted now to no one in particular. God damn it. Shut the up. It's too early for this shit. A voice yelled from the inner reaches of his mind. No, you shut up. Another one shouted. Besides, it's 8 in the morning. We should have woken up 3 hours ago. You're all fools. All he asked was what time it was. There was no need for quarrel. Immediately, More voices chimed in with their opinions, only serving to cause a massive headache to the man who was rapidly losing his patience. All right, I heard an atom, so that will do. The rest of you shut the hell up. The man was pissed. This was but only one of the reasons he'd become so indecisive of late. Oh, he hated having to house so many minds in his, a severe drawback in his jutsu. After getting the acquired taste of brains, that is. And there was the fact that he was always losing chakra with no way of getting it back except for cannibalizing the brains, then suffering with the drawbacks, then forced to eat more brains. It was a vicious cycle. You have to lose control of us eventually. Kami, this is what I've been reduced to. Kuso. A voice in someone's head. Goddamn you, you son of a. That's enough, Ito said sternly. You seem to forget who is in control. Immediately following, Ito mentally subjected the profane voice to something tortuous, and grinned sadistically when he heard it shrieking in pain. Now then, does anyone else have something to say? He was met with unadulterated silence, and he nodded to it. Good. Now then, who are these fools coming? Shading his eyes with his hand, he looked out across the desert. It seemed that a group of ninja would soon pass through this location. It must have been Suna ninjas. After all, they were coming from the direction of Sunagaku. He drew on his robes quickly, pulled his hood over his head to cover up his sensitive skin. He didn't want his unique facial features getting out, his blemishes and scars. While doing so, he wondered about Gaara. He was after the Ikibi Jinchuriki to check up on whether the brat's inner Biju had passed on vestiges of its techniques in Gaara's mind. But for now, he supposed that he'd need to infiltrate the village first. Any of the approaching ninjas would be useful as a disguise, and it'd be a bonus if any of them had a Kekai Genkei. Oi, Hara, move like you've got some life in you. You're lagging behind. Yes, senpai. Hara applied a little more chakra to his feet in an effort to keep up with the lead jonin of the squad as they did the border patrol. He was a late sleeper. He had barely woken up in time and readied himself to get to his mission briefing with the rest of the members of his squad. So it was no surprise to that his metabolism had not gotten up to speed yet. It could be said that his body still assumed it was still sleeping hours. Damn man, you're so slow. That's expected of a fresh chunin, but the exams are over, man. Your orientation period's over, so quit acting like a genin. Shut your mouth, Kuzi. Hara retorted. You know that my bloodline limit to see in pitch black darkness was what helped us to pass. You would have still been wandering around in that damn mountain in Kumo without me. Just pick up the pace. 5 minutes later of ninja sprinting, they stumbled across a man covered from head to toe in a strange cloak complete with a face mask and hood covering the top of his head, shadowing his eyes. Everyone slid to a stop and entered their respected stance. Who are you and what are your reasons for being within our borders? Surin, one of the lead jonins asked. He was a very intimidating looking character and he would not take foolishness or ignorance, especially from a man who looked like he was a potential threat to Suna. The man did not even have a Hittite, at least, not one that should have been easily visible. Name. I got a bunch of 'em. Don't like 'em, either. Reason. I'm just passing through, collecting this and that, here and there, Ito replied. Do you stop to question everyone you see within a couple miles of Suna? I could be passing through just to sightsee. Could. So you had to visit the tropical paradise that is Suna? Surin retorted sarcastically. He was growing impatient with this man's inane answers. Even a spy would have given a fake name and purpose. But this man, what the hell was his deal? Kuzi, search him for identification, the jonin ordered. If he does not submit and becomes a threat, he will be treated as such. At the command, Kuzi stepped forward confidently. The group of 2 jonins and 3 chunins should be enough to intimidate the man into submission, their ranks easily understood by the color scheme and other such attributes of their vests. However, the more he walked towards the man, the more he felt a pressure. Not killing intent. It was as if gravity had singled him out for special treatment. 5 yards from the man and he could barely keep standing, let alone keep his head from rolling around on his neck muscles. The man was doing something subtle to let him know he did not want to be searched. Kuzi was already regretting leaving the village and encountering this person. What's wrong, Kuzi? Surin grumbled heatedly, seeing his subordinate stop and hesitate for a full minute. Finally having enough, Surin stomped up to Kuzi and savagely turned him around, only to discover a Senbon needle sticking out of his forehead. The man had died standing, quickly and eerily. He's been dead for half a minute. Hesitation can cost you your life. You either do or don't. Surin, finally snapping out of his stupor, leapt backwards to regroup at his squad's position. Attack! He yelled, meanwhile going through some hand seals to prepare a jutsu. Futon. Tenten&Fū no jutsu. Wind release. Tunneling wind technique. Surin quickly formed what looked like a spear of wind and threw it, aiming at the man's chest. The speed of the jutsu would ensure that there would be a gaping hole in his chest, as it usually did to the poor blokes that opposed the Jonin's technique. The man merely turned sideways in a great show of speed and boredom, allowing the spear to fly past harmlessly. The man then formed a single snake hand seal and mumbled something. He reopened his hands to reveal a small red floating orb that grew in size, and soon washed over everyone in a glow of red light that soon disappeared. What was that supposed to do, huh? Intimidate us? Hara was not impressed with the jutsu. The cloaked man's attention immediately snapped to him. The Chunin recoiled from the aura the man gave off. It wasn't killing intent, but something more primal, predatory, maybe. Before he could run, the mysterious stranger had flashed to him in a burst of speed with a tanto in hand, and slashed his head apart, brain matter and blood spilling. I must have gotten knocked out, but when I woke up, I found everyone with slit throats, signs of battle, and the man gone. Hara finished. This is indeed troubling. But you alone escaped with your life. The Kazekage gave his ninja the stink eye, scrutinizing him. From your account, he seems powerful enough to not make any mistakes about leaving anyone alive. Perhaps he wanted a witness, someone to give a report. But that contradicts his behavior about being secretive. Hara looked on as the leader of Sunagaku mused out loud. No clue why I alone lived, Kazekage-sama, he commented dryly, just enough to let the man know that he could get the real flavor of what the man was thinking. The Sabaku grunted. Needless to say, he shall be added to the bingo book, although funds in the treasury are low. Damn it all. The mission will have to be drafted to a new team. We can't afford to lose any more face with our clients. You are excused, Hara-san. Gratefully, Hara left and closed the door behind him. Making his way home, he unlocked his apartment and sat on his bed, his form changing into that of the cloaked stranger from before. The man of mystery then closed his eyes and called out in his thoughts. Hello, Hara. Where am I? Hara's mentality cried out in the man's head. The locals in there tend to call it hell. You're gonna stay there. I think your night vision is gonna come in useful. Tenten. Bye Masato. Sayonara. Tenten-chan. Fighting her scrolls and packs a fair bit when they got in her way, Tenten checked her gear as she walked out the door. Weapon scrolls. Check. Kunai holsters. Check. Shuriken pack. Check. Wait, it's starting to feel a little light. I might need to go check the hunting grounds if I can find any more lying around, she thought out loud. Tenten-chan, aren't you forgetting something? The man said as he waited with his arms outstretched a bit. Oh, I almost forgot. Tenten ran back to Masato and gave him a bone-crushing hug. I'm going to miss you, Tenten-chan. Gonna be boring for a while. Masato, it's only for a week, she grumbled dryly, so just imagine. A whole week without me having to bother you about when is mealtime. The man stared at her, noting her slim figure. I remember when you practically ate the color off of the fridge, dear Cammy, I can only wonder where you're putting it all. His particular brand of wit sometimes made her want to put her hands around his neck and squeeze until he stopped moving. Oh, I'm gonna pretend I didn't just hear that. Do you know the time? About 1:15 midday. It's not lunchtime yet. She pretended that she didn't hear what he had said about it being lunchtime. Masato was just being Masato. Oh cripes, I'm late. I gotta get going. Don't wanna miss my mission meeting time. He didn't miss the actual lack of urgency in her voice or the fact that she always left an hour early, but he let her go. He didn't tell her goodbye, but instead allowed her to leave, his prayers following after her. She bounded away and started ninja sprinting. Now alone with her thoughts, she realized that she still hadn't called Masato, to-san, yet. It had been 3 years in the orphanage. 3 years of crying herself to sleep, and now, she wanted to move on. While she was unsure that she would ever call him her father, he will hold the place of one, and when she returned from her mission, she was going to make sure he realized how much he meant to her. Not as the orphanage owner, but as the father figure in her life. But she wondered to herself. If she acknowledged Masato as her father figure, was she betraying her biological father, Kami bless his soul? And what of her mother? She missed her. But she was trying to move on, still trying to ward off the memories of their lives of family, back when life was good. Stop it. You are a kunoichi, damn it. Act like one. Kunoichi don't get emotional breakdowns. No, no, no. Don't start acting like an emotional bitch. Don't cry. But it was too late. Tears streamed down her face, no holds barred, induced by nightmares accompanied by years of life crises unresolved by therapy. She had been walking a precarious edge, but she had fallen into her whirlpool of memories in which there was no getting out. All she could do was let herself go, and hope that the whirlpool will dump her out at the earliest convenience. Against her will, she slowed down to a pained walk, unintentionally lengthening out her misery alone as she made her way to her team. As she did so, she passed by a blonde-headed youth who was going in the opposite direction, looking surly. When he saw her, he smiled at her like someone she used to know. She didn't take notice of him, and realizing this, he continued on his own way in silence, and she on her own. Are you alright, Tenten-san? Lee asked. He received no answer. Tenten. Huh. The bun-haired girl looked up. Oh, I'm fine, Lee, she smiled, hoping to assure her teammate that she undeniably was. Lee was satisfied. Maida Guy was not. Guy could tell that she must have had an emotional breakdown again for the third time in the space of 6 months. While it didn't affect her duties as the team's sole kunoichi, it would soon start taking a toll on her mental health, breaking it down like a fort under siege. She was probably in need professional help, or even needed to resign, especially that her acts as a kunoichi seemed to make each breakdown worse than the last. But if no one could help her professionally, then it could be possible for her to heal if she, by chance, had a kindred shoulder to cry on. However, Lee was out of the question. Bless his earnest nature, but the boy had zero intelligence about this sort of thing. Neji, perhaps. He looked over to the stoic Hyuga. He seemed to have a permanent glare and increasingly familiar scowl to go with it. He had seen family members die to other family members in his clan because of the caged bird seal he himself wore on his forehead, but no one too close, like his mother or father. He didn't have any sort of empathy to the girl who was orphaned. Besides, to get Neji to comfort Tenten, one probably had a better chance of seeing his eternal rival without his mask. Maybe he could find someone later when they returned to the village after they fulfilled their mission. With reluctance, he put Tenten's issues on the back burner. Now was a time to accomplish what their mission dictated. Neji, use your Byakugan to scout out the bandit camp. Tenten, prepare to give us long-range support. Lee, when Neji completes the tally, we are going to approach the west side through the forest canopy. Hi, Sensei. They had all gone into professional mode. Lee started limbering up quietly while Neji counted the possible combatants, including the ones in the tents. Tenten, in the meantime, double-checked her weapons. All the kunai are loose in the holsters, scrolls easy to reach, the paper bombs, her eyes glazed over while she remembered that fateful night, the explosions and the fire and all the blood, the corpses it ran from. T-N-N. T-N-N. Tenten. Maida Guy hissed loudly, shaking her by her shoulders. Was her first intelligent response coming back to reality. You started staring into space, muttering something about fire and bombs and whatnot. You're remembering that night again, aren't you? He pressed. No, Sensei. I was. She trailed off. Remembering 3 years ago. Guy finished with a sigh. Tenten, it seems to me that you would rather remember that one night instead of the times before that, or even anything else after. All the happier times. But instead you choose to dwell on that one hellish point in time. But Sensei. No buts, Tenten. He interrupted sternly. I mean what I say, exactly how I said it. I don't want to sound unsympathetic, but you need to move on and stop reminiscing about that unyouthful time. You need to be more emotionally stable because your psychological test is in a month that determines your future as a kunoichi. That is, if you remain one or not. It doesn't look good considering that you froze just by checking your equipment. What if you froze up while you were using it? You could get killed by an enemy just from a single mistake, not unlike that. I'm not telling you to kill your emotions, or to temporarily suppress them, only for you to keep them in check, at least while you're out in the field. I hope we never have to have conversation again. Is that clear? Guy stopped his lecture and looked over his genin. It seems that she had listened, or disobeyed and temporarily suppressed her emotions. He reasoned. For the moment, there was no proof that she had recalled her painful past earlier. Her jaw was steeled and her brows were even. Her expression was as hard as granite. Hi, I won't let you down, Guy-sensei. That's impossible, Tenten. Guy replied. Neji, seeing that they were done, he tried to get Maida's attention. Guy-sensei, I have completed my count. Yes, Neji. How many have you counted? Guy asked. The head count is 36, Neji was grim. Not so bad. Roughly 9 opponents each. Guy reasoned after doing some math and battle scenarios in his head. For 40 people. Neji finished. What? Over there. Neji pointed. Guy looked to where his Hyuga genin pointed. From what he could see bodies next to a table that was bloody to one side. He was furious. He could only presume that this was what the mission entailed. These bandits have been terrorizing a nearby town that the mayor-client ran. Apparently, these bandits must have been kidnapping people and decapitating them, sending threats that they wanted money or they wouldn't stop. Neji was grim. Lee was horrified. Guy was angry. But Tenten was disheveled. The temporary wall she had built around her emotions had crumbled, leaving her vulnerable once more. Guy calmed himself down as well as Lee. By the time he looked to Tenten, she had already put her emotionless mask back on. Very well. We will proceed as planned. However, Neji will flank around to the north, creating buncheons to intimidate them. Tenten will throw bomb tags from here into the southernmost of the camp to continue to drive them to the east against the cliff wall. Once they are there, we'll converge together and engage them while they are boxed in and confused. Is that clear? Guy stated, looking over all the members of his team, especially Tenten, looking her over for any sort of weakness. He was satisfied, seeing none. None that were obvious, that is. He was still worried though. Hi, Guy-sensei. Go. Guy started ninja sprinting with Lee and Neji, leaving Tenten alone with her thoughts. Does he expect me to just forget my parents and my childhood? My innocence. He doesn't know what I have been through, my own private hells. He never had to go through what I did when he was at my present age. To see parents and people who care for you die right in front of you, because of you. He doesn't know. Quote. Dynamic entry. No mistaking it. Only one person could shout those words from afar and make them carry like that. Well, time to get to work, she muttered. She walked up the tree to the top branch and hid in the thick foliage. From her elevated position she could see that Guy and Lee were kicking 2 bandits in the chest simultaneously to the right of her location. She looked straight ahead and could see Neji throw a couple kunai that took 2 bandits in the throat before creating a few more of the deceiving image buncheons that leapt out the tree line, further intimidating the criminals into retreating in the most logical direction, that being the southeast. Quickly, she took out 3 kunai with bomb tags attached and threw them right at the edges of the forest where she was, one in the south, one in the southeast and one to east-southeast, with the original explosion igniting the trees there. A few were caught in the blast. 2 died immediately and the last one crawled out of the fire sporting badly burnt flesh and a bloody stump for a right leg. The resulting fire drove the already panicking men to the east wall like lambs to the slaughter. Except for one. The bandit jumped over the fire neatly and grinned at the location where he knew her to be. He then turned his back and started walking off casually, a clear taunt meant for her to try and attack him while she was in his blind spot. Tenten gritted her teeth and looked to her teammates. By now, all the remaining bandits were penned in at the wall, putting up a fight, and Neji, Guy and Lee were trying to incapacitate them. She looked back to the man and then back to her team. It was a tough decision, but she made it nonetheless. She dropped out of the tree on slightly bent knees, landing with 3 kunai ready between her fingers. She threw them at the retreating figure of the man only for him to turn around at the last second, dodging the first 2 and catching the third at the grip and chucking it back at her even faster than she threw it. The kunai buried itself in a log she had been fortunate to substitute with in time. A substitution? Hey, you coward, come out here. I'll show you how a real ninja fights. The man shouted. "Tu-san is going to cut your pretty little head off." He then felt his waist, apparently searching for something. Damn, must have dropped it when the other ninjas started to assault the camp, he muttered under his breath before speaking up louder. Well, never mind that oversized butcher's knife. This one will do me just fine. He drew out a sturdy 6-inch knife with saw-blade-like properties to it. The zigzagged edges glinted dangerously in the sunlight. There was dried blood all over the hilt. He was met with silence as the kunoichi refused to answer with any sort of comment. From her unseen hiding place, the bun-haired girl studied her enemy for the first time. He seemed eccentric for lack of a better word, but not crazy funny like Guy and Lee, more like crazy sociopath. He had the skills of a low to mid-chunin caliber, but he was dressed like a common bandit. Why was he with all those highwaymen? Look at all the dried blood on his shirt. She thought back to the bloody table she had seen from the start. It's him. It has to be him. He was the executioner. He's the one who decapitated those people. He must have tied their limbs to the corners with their heads off the edge to allow for him to easily chop their heads off. She was now frightened as she had realized the truth. This man dispatched so callously and mercilessly, and here he was threatening to do the same thing to her with a saw-toothed knife. That meant it wasn't going to be a clean stroke. No. He was going to drag it back and forth through her neck until her head only remained hanging by a piece of flesh, until it tore and her head fell off. No. Get it together, Tenten. I can't afford to panic and get sloppy. Think. He's a bloodthirsty bandit of Chunin level, probably a Nukenin with experience to boot. I can't take him on by myself, I'm just a genin. I need to somehow signal Guy-sensei to help. But how? Found you. The unsettling whisper said, his breath against the nape of her neck. Oh shit. She screamed breathlessly, before shouting in her mind. Quick. Kawarimi no jutsu. In a split second she was in the tree opposite of the clearing, seeing the man dig his knife viciously into a log she had substituted with. As she tried to slow her rapid breathing rate, she saw that the man again turned his gaze to her tree, as if he knew that she was there. Her thoughts raced almost as fast as her heart. Shit, is he a censor or something? She grabbed a weapon scroll and unsealed her remaining bomb tags, wrapped them up together in a wad and activated them discreetly. Well, here goes everything. If this doesn't kill him, at least it will get Guy-sensei's attention. She prepared herself for one more substitution and jumped out of the tree she was in. Out in the open, now, she shouted, trying to hide the frightened tone in her voice. The man dropped out of his tree and released his killer intent, further scaring the poor girl. Heh heh, the man chortled, you think you're brave. For all that, you have all the bravery of a mouse. I can practically smell your cowardice rolling off you. Come over here. I'll make your death quick. He said slyly. Almost immediately, her feet started walking towards the man as if in a trance. Huh, that's right. Keep coming. Don't stop. Tu-san's going to make the pain all go away, he said in a sympathetic sounding voice. Why can't I stop? Somehow, a part of her knew this was wrong, that this man was about to be her killer. But another part of her believed him, wanting to believe that he could help her. No. What is this? Shit. Genjutsu. But how do I break it when I can't even move my arms to create the ram seal? Wait. Pain. She quickly bit her lower lip hard, drawing blood. Almost immediately, the belief that he cared for her was gone and her arms were back under her control. But why am I still walking towards him? She threw her weapons at him, kunai and shuriken. It didn't matter. He just danced around them. Her efforts to hurt him and hopefully break his control over her went for naught. Guy-sensei. Anyone, help. Tears started to stream down her cheeks as she believed her time had come. She was convinced that she was now going to be with her dead parents. But she suddenly started thinking with stark clarity. But Masato is a Tu-san to me. And I have Asami and all my other siblings in the orphanage. Everyone there cares for me. One more face passed through her mind briefly. It had no details, except for whiskers on the cheeks. I'm not gonna go just yet. Not without a fight at least. She brought her hands together and formed the ram seal. Kai. She continued walking towards him. She gritted her teeth and almost slowed to a standstill her now dying chakra levels. She kept up the pressure on her network, sweating now in her effort and pain. It was like halting the blood in her veins. Suddenly, She released it, like an overflowing dam. Kai. She continued walking towards him. Ha ha ha. Do you think you can break my most powerful genjutsu with some mediocre release method? You're going to die here, little girl. Children shouldn't be running around playing ninja. This world is only for stone cold killers. Not kids. He laughed hysterically. No one's coming for you, girly. Just come and take it like a real ninja would. You should have gone to some dumb civilian school instead. Being a ninja is not fun and games. He cackled as he spoke. He was content in letting her come to him. He enjoyed seeing her face go pale in terror. He was truly a psychotic individual. She balled her fists. She was now 10 yards from the man. What to do? Suddenly, she remembered her roll of tags. Well, better him than her, or him and her instead of just her, she mused. But how much time left? Just throw it, Tenten. She balled it and threw it at him as hard as she could, but the paper held no real weight and it fell 3 feet shy of the man, ending the journey by rolling to his feet. His eyes widened in realization that they were explosive tags. Shit. Almost immediately, his hold of over the girl's legs had dispersed, making the girl sigh in thankfulness, before gathering her bearings. She quickly palmed her last kunai and threw it, aiming at his foot. In the man's panicked state, as he was pivoting on his leg to flee, the kunai caught him just above his heel, slicing his Achilles tendon, handicapping his movement. The girl, not sticking around to see if it caught him or not, had already started running away. She did not want to stick around to find out the blast radius for a dozen B-ranked explosive tags was. This act left the crippled man to stare wide-eyed at the tags, waited for the end to come knowing that he couldn't escape, suddenly saw a blinding flash of white. Then black. Tenten was still running when the explosion occurred and the blast caught up to her. It lifted her form and continued moving her beyond her control, finally driving her into the dirt head and shoulders first. Then she knew no more. Gah. She suddenly bawled in the night, springing up, only to see her comrades asleep. Except for Neji. He was sitting by the fire, poking at a straying piece of firewood. The dry wood fed the hungry flame and the wood crackled, sending sparks flying up and around him. But the branch Hyuga never once blinked in fear for his eyes, in spite of the event. Welcome back to the waking world, Tenten. She took note of her surroundings for the first time. Night. Indeed. You have been unconscious for 9 hours. It's late at night and it's now my watch, the stoic boy replied to her unintelligent question. What happened? You were probably knocked unconscious by your explosives. From where we were fighting the bandits, we could see a massive explosion. This got Guy Sensei worried enough to open his first gate to finish off the bandits. To me, it seems there were a few Chunin in the group. When we were done fighting, we rushed to check on you, only to find pieces of what appeared to be a man. He snorted. Or what used to be one. But you, however, we found you lying face down on the ground. 3 feet next to you was a rather sturdy tree. If you were knocked into that tree, you would have broken your neck and cracked your skull open. A concussion at the very least. Needless to say, Guy Sensei was very upset. Would you care to explain what transpired? He inquired. She told him everything that mattered. From when she saw him up until the explosion. But she was careful not to mention her emotional state during her encounter, or her thoughts. And that's what happened. Interesting. The one bandit we interrogated described that man as the person who chopped of those people's heads. We saw the weapon used. It was a single zigzag-edged blade that was 4 inches wide and 18 inches long. A rather brutish and barbaric weapon. You might have taken the strongest ninja in the bunch, or the least sane. Little difference it seems, nowadays. Well, he stood up and stretched. It's time for Lee's shift. Would you wake him while I retire? Neji requested. Sure. Neji. Good night. She went and did as he requested while he crawled into his sleeping bag. Good night, Tenten. She turned around to look back at him, but he had already turned his back to her. She returned to her task, but Lee wouldn't budge. Well, guess I'll do it. I'm fully rested anyway. And so she did. X equals X equals. The bun-haired girl sighed as she stepped inside her home. Orphanage. Masato. I'm home. The children's home was empty. She bounded up the stairs to her room and put down her things. Masato. She called again. Tenten-chan. The voice sounded faint. We're in the backyard. She ran downstairs and out the back door. Sure enough, she saw everyone there. All the children were eating what appeared to be takeout ramen and Masato was speaking the Hokage. Asami approached her with another takeout bowl and gave it to her. Here Tenten&Nichan. Someone sent all of us ramen. Here's yours. Ramen. Hi. We all found these drawings under the container. Look. He lifted his now empty bowl and showed her the bottom. There was a piece of paper taped to it of picture of some sort. She felt under her own bowl and found another similar to his. She placed the picture in her pocket, intending to look it over later. So, how did it go? What? The mission. It was okay. You know, same old, same old. Huh. You say that all the time. Come on. Nothing. Tenten fell defeated to the badgering. Fine. We went up against some bandits and I killed the worst one. This guy was really hardcore and he liked to decapitate people. Her surrogate brother tasted a bit of bile that rose to the back of his throat. That's awful. I'm sorry I asked. He almost killed me. Twice. But, she smiled. I guess I'm just awesome. Asami elbowed her in her ribs. Glad you're home safe, sis. I guess I'm really not cut out to be a ninja. Stomach's too weak. But I got a great sister who is one. Thanks, Odoto. She looked down at the noodles in the broth. Wonder who sent it. Who knows? A man answered unexpectedly from behind her, startling her. Masato. The orphanage owner had somehow crept up behind her and surprised her. That was somewhat impressive. For a civilian. Suspicious even, but she ignored it. The brown-eyed girl looked around but couldn't see the sandame. Where's the Hokage? Masato stroked his chin. He left while you were talking with Asami. What did he want? Asami queried. Oh, he was just talking business. Apparently, he's going to fund for some repairs around the orphanage. About time anyway. That's great news. But was he the one who sent the ramen? It tastes great, but I don't think the sandame can cook. The boy joked. They chuckled. True. While I know who sent it, I'm not going to tell you. But if you really want to know, look at the picture carefully and try to think who you've seen with a face like that. The orphanage owner said conspirationally. Tenten, who had started eating, nodded. Might as well. Ramen's good though. Who made it? It was made by Ichiraku's. Apparently, our mystery person sponsored ramen for all of you. While it's cheap, you should appreciate the gesture. Really? Why is that? Asami raised an eyebrow. Because a storm cloud spawned over Masato. I didn't get any. The children laughed. For a moment, the girl thought of how much the man looked like someone she used to know. Someone she liked. Loved, maybe. I guess so, too-san. Tenten said. Masato perked up, both in mood and surprise, or was it shock and horror? Too-san. Tenten nodded. Yeah. Masato looked at the brown-haired girl. Moved on. Moved on. The sun finally broke over the horizon, rousing all the creatures that had yet to awaken. It cast its glow over the training ground, causing the trees to cast long shadows. In one such shadow, there a blonde sat cross-legged, eating an apple. He appeared to be deep in thought, a fact that was growing more in occurrence nowadays. He was, in fact, speaking to his tenant, the nine-tailed chakra monster sealed inside of him. That's true. But I was going to leave that jutsu to a Kaden clone when I got to it. What's next? What about those gravity seals? Okay. I remember reading that the seal was labeled a kinjutsu, due to being a double-edged sword. It brings gifts in one hand, and stabs you in the back with the other hand, that kind of deal. How come? It can't be much different than the regular training weights. Kurama asked. Simple. The boy thought his reply. Gravity seals, as mentioned by their name, affect the force of gravity on you. Not necessarily make you heavy by forcing you to the ground. It's like it makes you into a core of sorts. Remember when I visited Nami no Kuni? Wave. Hi. You nearly drowned and that man saved you. What was his name? Kaiza. Yes. But we digress. Get to the point. The seals are supposed to work like that. Like the sea, in a sense. For a human being, gravity is increased on your person only when using the seal. Imagine a stone at the bottom of the sea. The water pressure would be constantly pressing down on it, keeping it down, as well as around it. For a human being, while everyone is moving normally, it will be like you're moving through syrup. This exercise forces you to put more effort into something as trivial as walking. Your whole body extremely heavy, your muscle density would increase with your exertions as well as your speed. It's like being chained to a boulder until you're able to run with it. Naruto smirked. And when you're unshackled, your running speed with the burden plus your natural speed without it equals, Kurama grinned. Speed demon. This is all well and good, but how is this supposed to backfire? How is this supposed to be harmful when it looks like a great way to train? The Kyuubi was locked in thought. It would have been an improvement for that so-called ninja academy. All they're really doing is teaching civilians how to throw kunai and shuriken, and that was for the faster kids. The slower kids, that is, you, didn't learn shit. Naruto didn't respond right away, unable to think of any comebacks before realizing that the poor taunt just wasn't worth it. This seal is a kinjutsu for a reason. Why can't a fish live on dry land or a man in the sea? Enlighten me. They would be out of their element. Essentially, it all boils down to gravity seal's curse. Once you release the seal's effects and return to normal, your muscles and your breakdown from overexertion when you move faster than what your body became used to. After that, you'd have to get used to normal life unshackled all over again, but if you don't train again with the weights, you'll basically get out of shape. But for us, I think we're an exception. Kurama tried to think about what the blonde meant. Why were they exceptions to such a rule? It's not as if his chakra could be used as a buffer or shield in a case like this. He asked his container to explain. Think. The only exception is due to the fact of people with medical potential healing such injuries. Or deal with it over time, tearing muscles and damaging bones and repairing them to be more dense and such for future uses. I see. The fox now realized what his container was driving at. My chakra will be constantly healing and regenerating torn muscles, fractured bones, damaged tissue, and ligaments. That's it. Naruto stood and stretched. That's going to have to wait though. I have to get my hands on some sealing ink and the rest of that junk before I can start, and I'd have to touch up my calligraphy or something before even that happens. Maybe that's how I'd contribute to the team I'm gonna make. By using seals. Or maybe something else. I'm still not too sure. True. What's next? I got every technique from the scroll memorized. I know their instructions, strengths, and weaknesses from their descriptions, right down to A, T. I might not know how to do them, so I'll have to leave that to the future clones I'll create, the ones that will have their abilities lean towards those affinities. Naruto started to run towards the village border to start doing his laps. The tenacious 13, huh. I wouldn't have to resort to literally making a team if my teacher didn't think that I'm some kind of a time bomb. He sighed. The Yuhi woman had responded to the apology in an unforeseen manner. She had ended up scrutinizing everything he did for a full week now, and he had a feeling it was just the beginning. The old man must have put her up to it, or more than likely, she didn't believe in the apology. Figures. He actually apologized for his tenant and suddenly, he's high risk. The woman even tried to draw on him separately from Hinata and Shino, using some half-baked lie that they needed the most work. As if she could have made it a bit more believable. If she had split them all up and used clones, it would have been more sincere sounding. In a short hour later, he had finished all his laps and went back home to have his breakfast. As he ate, he looked around his dilapidated apartment he called home and frowned. A sudden movement caught his eye. He noticed a rat darting from his pantry with a bit of food in its mouth towards another hole. When the rat disappeared inside, he heard more squeaking. Probably raising a family in there, he thought with a resigned sigh. He'd been doing a lot of that nowadays. Guess they made my home little more than a prison. Maybe I really should have joined the orphanage after all. But the minute I leave there in the morning, I would probably come back to see it burn to the ground. He bemoaned aloud. Oh Kami, not again. Get a rat trap and just shut the Fu, Kurama started. I'm fine, really, Naruto protested weakly. I was only joking. I can tell you're in denial. I can hear your thoughts, you know. Just stop bitching about it. I'm tired of always having to hear the same spiel day in and day out. I said that I'm joking. More like a pathetic tragedy than a comedy, so just save it for someone with a twisted sense of humor and move on. Got it. Yeah. X equals X equals. And that's the 5th D rank mission for Team 8. A decent start, but Team 7 has already done 9, Iruka remarked in a mild boast. You want to lose to Kiba and Sasuke, Naruto. Iruka and the Hokage sat next to each other. By all appearances, it would seem that Iruka was extremely attached to the latest generation of shinobi hopefuls this year, and had applied for a temporary position as the Hokage's assistant, helping with handing out missions as well as general paperwork. The aged Kage welcomed Iruka for the company as well as the respite from his document worries. You have to make it sound as if you care. Act stupid. Damn. What? Kurenai-sensei. We gotta do some more missions, we can't let those hacks win. Iruka-sensei. Can we do 2 or 3 at a time? Naruto tried to use puppy eyes, but it pulled off none too well, seeing as he was too old for it. Essentially, he was acting like traditional Naruto. No, Naruto. Iruka deadpanned, looking at the Jinchuriki as if he had lost his mind. Only 1 at a time. Do you think we're making them think they're overreacting about suspecting me of anything? The whiskered boy thought to his tenant. No, we're only fooling Hinata and Iruka for sure. Shino is a maybe. Kurenai and the Sandame, not a chance. They weren't born yesterday. In other words, I lose face and dignity and it didn't even matter. Naruto exploded mentally. Well, we'll just have to deal with it and be more careful about what we do or say in the future. Keep it casual and easy, the fox replied. The Hokage spoke up. Genin can perform D ranks in their own time though. You don't have to necessarily do them with your team. Some genins do this as a means to earn a little extra cash sometimes. He had fully expected Naruto to grimace but had instead adopted a thoughtful expression. Maybe the thought of money had gotten to him. This was made true based on what Naruto said next. Could I get a couple of D ranks when I come by later? What? I mean what I said, Iruka-sensei. Anyway, can we just go catch Tora the cat now? I'm sure that's what you had in mind anyway. Comma. Alright you 3, that wasn't so bad but it could have gone better if we had more decent teamwork, Kurenai explained, so we will be trying to improve the team's synergy. Today, we'll be doing a bastardized version of the original Genin test. You will be trying to remove these bells, Kurenai pointed to the bells strapped to her waist. But keep in mind that I'm scoring your teamwork. In training, you have been kept separated from each other to help team cohesiveness on the fly. She concluded. What a load of bullshit. She's just saying that so my other teammates don't get suspicious to what she's been doing. Naruto snorted. Kurenai glared at the boy. And the Bunshin Daibakua has to be limited to a smaller scale to reduce collateral damage as well as improve safety odds for other team members. Everyone knew what she was talking about. Begin. The woman shouted. Naruto immediately spawned 2 clones and they dashed at the sides, trying to flank the Jonin while Shino charged at the woman, insects starting to pour out of his sleeves. As expected, Hinata stayed behind, hesitating a little before activating her dojutsu and running at her sensei as well. Kurenai backpedaled a little, trying to keep the blonde and his doppelgangers within her field of vision. Shino reached her and started to fight her with taijutsu, his insects trying to swarm the woman but failing. This was quite a change from his somewhat pacifist nature in fighting, which rather consisted of keeping a healthy distance while allowing his parasitic insects to gorge themselves on the chakra of his opponents. However, Naruto and his clones passed when Shino occupied her. The spectacled boy threw a punch towards the woman's solar plexus which she caught in her left hand. The boy tried to corkscrew his hand out of the woman's grip, but she held fast and kicked away his legs before releasing him. What's the plan, boss? A clone thought to his creator. We're going to wing it. I'll approach her back while the rest of you flank her. We'll try to get into her blind spot. They contributed by throwing weapons at woman, hoping that they would stall her until Shino and Hinata occupied the Jonin more successfully. Not as distractions. He himself wanted to see what they were capable of. Maybe he'd even get some sort of proof, blackmail, that he had a bitch of a teacher who showed too much favoritism. Shino's insects settled on the woman. She momentarily stopped before she exploded into smoke, revealing that she was a shadow clone. Naruto grinned wryly. Looks like someone took a page from my book. Hinata looked around with her Byakugan. She's in the forest to OORR right. She exclaimed. Naruto quickly created 8 more clones which leapt into the forest indicated while Shino recalled his insects and went into the opposite forest, no doubt to strategize. Hinata was left in the clearing alone with the original Naruto. Hinata-chan, I need you to come with me. What? The lavender-eyed girl blushed a little. I need you to be my eyes. She uses genjutsu, right? The Byakugan should be able to see through that. Naruto amended his implication. Oh. The girl pointed at a particular tree, but she was suddenly assaulted from all sides by shuriken and kunai, transforming the girl into a corpse riddled by weapons in no time flat. What the hell? The boy stared at the dead girl. Wrong. This was way wrong. For one, this was a training exercise. Second, this girl was supposed to be the daughter of the Jonin's friend. Shit. Genjutsu. He formed the ram seal, compressed his chakra and then released. Kai. His surroundings shimmered like heat waves in a distance before changing to that of an empty training ground. Fine. I'll work with this. No Kage Bunshin Daibakua. Just non-exploding clones. Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu. The boy formed a dozen rock clones and gave them a mental cue before they used Doden. Dochu Igyo no Jutsu, Earth Release. Underground projection fish technique, and sank into the ground. He then created a single Kaden clone to back him up before he leapt into the tree line. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu. What? Naruto turned around to see a large fireball coming at him, evidenced as his own clone working against him. Given the close range, he couldn't jump out of the way or use a kawarimi. He braced himself while covering his face with his hands. Shit. The fireball disappeared. Wah. Was his first intelligent response coming back to reality. He looked around to see Hinata with her hand on his shoulder back in the middle of the clearing. Naruto's heartbeat slowed down, coming down from his panic attack. What happened? He was still unsure of what had really come to pass. Why you were under AG Genjutsu, Hinata said, starting to blush for touching her crush. It was pathetic for her to get so easily flustered when interacting with him, but it was also endearing. Oh, he realized, before yelling out loud, damn. It was a double Genjutsu. Hey Kurenai-sensei, you know that most Chunin and some Jonin still fall for a trick like that. I'm still a genin, you know. He shouted, looking around trying to get a response. He received none. He turned back to the girl. Hey Hinata, when did I start to act strange? I think it was WW when you started to talk to me after your clone's L left. She stated. She felt a bit disappointed for not noticing and helping him out of the Genjutsu sooner. She could only imagine what he had seen when he was trapped in it. Kurenai watched the boy's clones search for her. She hid among the foliage and saw them dart from tree to tree in an effort to find her, but she needn't worry about them locating her. She presently had a camouflage genjutsu over herself to blend in with the tree, so even if they knew of her presence, they wouldn't find her. She had a little time to study the boy in the clearing with Hinata. She gritted her teeth. Why did the girl have to fall for him? Of all the boys in Konoha 4, she became infatuated with the pariah of Konoha, a Jinchuriki and a clan less orphan to boot. Not exactly ideal for the girl who practically had a princess status in the village, clan-wise, at least. Then to add fuel to fire of her irk, the apology from the week before had started to feel off. She felt that the apology was half sincere, but she didn't know where the lie was. The lie could be that Naruto was untruthful about the fox apologizing so he could get into her good graces, or that the fox didn't mean it, or. And the list went on. Because he wasn't entirely truthful, she had yet to trust him. But what if he were completely truthful? Would she have accepted the apology? A massive demon fox that raised the village that supposedly loved carnage and destruction apologized for a random ninja he killed. She couldn't really blame him. He probably felt he could only trust himself, given how he was treated and about the S-ranked secret he found out about. People like her, by her actions and theirs, gave him little reason to think otherwise. Shaking her head, she tried to bring herself back to earth, back into the fight. He was actually right in the sense of the genjutsu. A double-layered one was a bit steep against anyone, even if it were a duplex of the C-rank Magen, Makai Kanran no Jutsu, demonic illusion, hell viewing technique. He was just a genin. Regardless, he was the promising, aspiring, dangerous genin who blew a training ground to hell. Kurenai-sensei. She broke out of her musings and saw that the boy was shouting something. I know where Shino and Hinata-chan are. She also says you're over there. The boy waved at the general tree line where she was. So I'm limiting the Daibakua. Instead of 4,000 clones, you're getting 200. Aren't you lucky? He shouted. He made a cross hand seal and created the specified 200 clones that leapt into the canopy where she was suspected to be. I'm counting to 10 for you to get out of there into the open where I can see you, or you're getting your blown up for the second time. He snorted. The nerve of this kid. He wasn't breaking rules. He cut down his percentage by 95%. While a drastic reduction, it was still overkill. He could be bluffing though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All the clones made the ram seal. 9. All the clones started to glow, and at that point, she didn't dare doubt the boy anymore. She quickly deactivated her camo genjutsu and jumped into the clearing, yelling that she wasn't going to hide anymore. 10. The boy didn't react in time and still gave the order. The clones exploded. Whoosh. What? Kurenai looked back to where the clones were, baffled to see not an explosion, but a gale of wind to blow out of the tree line. A false explosion. Wasn't a full bluff. The blonde spoke as if he read her mind. I half bluffed. I only used futon buncheons. Those are a bit harmless when used in a debakua. They exploded. No one got hurt, and you came out of hiding. Everyone wins. Well, except you. You're revealed and you've been had. String her up. String who up? She instantly felt ninja wire wrap itself around her, locking her limbs together. Hands then grabbed her feet from underground and pulled her down to her waist. Not again, she thought, exasperated. Go Hinata-chan. Naruto yelled to his teammate. The blue-haired girl ran forward at the bound Jonin, Byakugan flaring. She quickly closed the distance and started to seal the woman's chakra points. However, after the third jab, the woman exploded into smoke, revealing that she was a shadow clone. Damn. Naruto cursed when he saw that he was, in actuality, the one who had been tricked. Hinata, do you see her? The girl gazed around. No. Wait. I see 3 of her. 3. The Uzumaki repeated. She must really be getting into the usage of clones like me. Hey Kurenai-sensei. Trying to take a page out of my book of tricks. I'm the only person in Konoha capable of a one-man army, you know. The only reply was Shino to come leaping out of his tree line, disheveled. It looked as if he was fighting one of the Kurenai's clones but had to flee. The Aburame got up and cradled his shoulder and elbow. It was obviously hurt, but he suffered it in silence as he made his way to his other teammates. Naruto observed him and created a cage buncheon, who was given a telepathic order. The clone flashed through the hand seals for horse, bird, and dog before its hand lit up in an ethereal green, which he laid on Shino's arm. After a minute of his ministrations, the clone stopped and dispersed itself. Shino stretched his arm and made a fist. There was no pain. I'm grateful, but I was not aware that you knew medical ninjutsu, Naruto-san, Shino thanked and questioned the whiskered boy. You're welcome. Naruto-kun, why didn't you do it yourself? Why create a clone? Hinata was confused as to the blonde's actions. The clone I just created specifically for that jutsu had significantly smaller reserves than I do. It's the only way to give him the necessary chakra control to perform the jutsu. It's just a hack, you know, Naruto answered. Maybe I could teach you the Shozen no Jutsu, Hinata. You could probably learn it. Naruto scratched his cheek, confused all of a sudden as he didn't know why he'd give her such an offer. Probably just an autopilot thing that shouldn't have been done. He was talking too much. She thanked him in her own quiet way, that was welcomed. So, teamwork, what do we do? Shino was about to answer when Kurenai appeared among them, palm thrusting Hinata in her chest away from her to the ground, punched Shino in the gut and smashed her fist into Naruto's jaw, dropping all 3 of them in a blinding move within the space of a single second. No planning. Everything has to be on the spur of the moment. She walked away from the genin a dozen yards away. Let's see if you can get the bells, she urged, tapping the bells to make them ring. Naruto glared at the woman and rubbed his pained jaw. It was already healing, but why the hell did she have to hit him in the face, he fumed. His forehead started to ache and his whole body began to burn. He gritted his teeth against the pain. So much so, when the others saw him, it was as if he had started to steam. Noticing the phenomenon, Hinata activated her dojutsu and saw his chakra fluctuating all over his body, particularly in the network in his head. Naruto-kun, are you alright? The boy grunted his unintelligible answer before he ran to the trees to hide, both in the action of retreating to hide the secrets of his evolving abilities and not wanting them to see him in pain, vulnerable, not after the bravado he'd been maintaining since breaking his amnesiac seal. He ran, limping the whole way, trying to keep his wits around him. His body soon stopped burning, although the discomfort remained. Kurama, what's happening? I'm not sure. It must be another latent ability. I can sense more activity than what is usual in your nervous system, especially in your limbs. Check your forehead, the fox suggested. Naruto shakily undid the knot keeping his forehead protector tied to his head. He turned it over with unsteady hands and looked at his forehead's reflection. He saw an arrow passing through the first and second circle, pointing to the south. The kanji was reflex. Reflex. Huh. He didn't know what it meant, but he had some ideas. He created a clone and telepathically told it to replace him. He had imbued it with a quarter of his reserves in the hopes that it would not dispel in a few hits. The clone retreated back to the team while Naruto slumped at the base of a tree, determined to wait out his ordeal. Reflex, he said out loud, what next? He waited 15 minutes for the pain to finally pass before he got back up. His sore limbs reacted in pain when he stood. He groaned for the momentary discomfort to pass before he stretched. His joints popped with action. How am I, Kurama? You're fine. Everything seems fine from my perspective. But there has been a rather big change. Don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing. What is it? It seems that your nerves are on a hair trigger. It's like they're now custom made to carry more information faster to your brain. You remember last week when you leaned back a bit too far in your chair and you overreacted really sudden because you subconsciously thought that your life was ending. Hilarious. Your point is what? That I'm gonna react like that to every small danger. No. You're gonna subconsciously react to danger, even if you're not consciously aware of the danger. The Kyuubi didn't speak anymore, letting his Jinchuriki to process the news. Nonetheless, it seemed that his theory was correct. Perhaps he would have faster reaction times to outside stimuli. Well, time to test it out. Naruto jumped back up to the tree branches and started tree hopping back to the clearing. This should make things more interesting. If it really was to have a faster reaction time, was it like the Sharingan? The Kyuubi caught the thought. No. The Sharingan increases time perception. So much so that you can see an attack coming, think about it, and prepare to negate it. I suspect that this may be a bit different, seeing as how you don't have that dojutsu. Sounds debatable. What's the idea then? If I just see or sense an attack coming, my body itself responds faster. Quite likely. But we should keep in mind that we're thinking of a literal body reflexive reaction. Kurama answered. Worst comes to worst, it could even be a bad thing if you overreact over every little thing. The boy finally arrived back again in the clearing to see everyone gone. He started to wonder where they were when some sort of sixth sense started to move his body involuntarily to catch a fist thrown to his upper back. The boy looked at the hand he had in his palm and trailed along it with his eyes to see Kurenai's eyes hinting surprise, laced with disbelief that Naruto had detected and caught her punch. The boy's eyes widened as he realized what he had done. He hadn't even sensed her presence, not by intent nor by sight. It was as if he just stopped a tangible ghost that suddenly came into existence. The woman got over her stupor first and kicked away Naruto's left leg at the shin with a thrusting kick. The boy started to stumble forward, but he still held on to the woman's hand, trying to right himself. Yuhi sidestepped and savagely jerked the boy forward, releasing his grip. Naruto, seeing that he could no longer right himself properly, finished falling, pushed off his legs at the last second and rolled, drawing a kunai midway through and threw it at the woman but missed. She was no longer there. The boy did a rapid 360-degree turn and looked around fervently in an effort to find the woman. His sixth sense started to involuntarily move again, making the boy jump away from the spot where he was standing. A split second passed before he saw two hands thrust out of the ground. Apparently, his sensei was now a fan of his more favored and frequented techniques. If it worked, why knock it? The boy landed a dozen yards from where his sensei apparently was and leapt away again to a tree branch to collect his thoughts. The boy breathed deeply, coming down from his adrenaline rush from the encounter with his teacher. Shit. Why is she going so hard on me? And how did I know she was going to harm me those 2 times? It's gotta be reflex. But how come it didn't intervene when she dragged me forward? Is the ability selective of when to intervene? There should have been a reaction to that. After all, I even saw her do it. Does it only apply to things I don't see coming? It was puzzling. The boy felt as if his body had temporarily decided to run on autopilot those 2 times. He didn't really sense what was going to happen. He just reacted to the situation, fully automatic. Like he could feel vibrations in the earth. Like he could feel the wind move due to the locomotion of other things. Like he could hear the faint heartbeat. Like he could smell her. Not really any of these things. His brain intercepted all the little, minute and subtle changes in the atmosphere and intercepted the threat to the body, sending reflexive information to all the nerves so that they reacted without him consciously thinking about it, like the involuntarily act of blinking when something was about to offend one's eyes. The boy grinned. This ability was going to be certainly useful. X equals X equals. And when he seemed to have recovered from whatever had affected him, he had somehow been able to negate most of my surprise attacks. Some of them were slow at first, but when I started moving faster, he couldn't keep up. Kurenai said. The boy has a lot of tricks up his sleeves. I admit that I went quite a bit harder against him, but in my defense, it's because he's fighting at a much higher level than others of his generation. Kurenai. The Hokage regarded her by pointing his pipe as if he was giving a lecture. I am aware of your prejudice against what he contains, as well as your segregation of him against the rest of your team. This goes against your training exercise of trying to promote your spur of the moment teamwork. The team must spend time together so that they learn each other's strengths and weaknesses to work with each other well in the field. I've never felt the need to explicitly tell you, but now, I'm cautioning you not to allow your feelings towards him to affect your job. Kurenai straightened. She could tell what a scolding was when she heard one. Of course. Above all, this is going to be a serious black mark on your record if you don't release your bias against the boy. You could even be forced to quit being a Jonin sensei. He himself has done nothing wrong, and even if he apologized, whether it was the boy or the Kyuubi, at least there was some repentance, or even an attempt at trying to bury the animosity you both have to one another. Desist, and continue to teach and to monitor. Am I clear? The Hokage leveled his eyes in an imposing stare at the woman, relinquishing no favor. Hi, Hokage-sama. In other adverse yet correlated matters, Naruto sent a clone to me while you were all training. It said that you were taking it a bit too easy on Hinata. Your fondness of the girl is as equally obvious as your disdain for Uzumaki. Care to explain your actions here? Kurenai stuttered a little. I have no recollection. Kurenai. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow. I'm not your minder, and in addition, you're a Jonin. You know how badly unprepared ninjas get torn down when they leave their villages on missions. Post this, Hiruzen only stared at the woman, and it was all that she could do, gaze back in a somewhat pensive and repentant manner, although it was moot if she was only sorry about the Hinata side of her situation or about how she was treating Naruto. Hiruzen waved her off, not wanting to look at the woman anymore and averting his head down to return to his paperwork. That will be all. You're dismissed. With a bit of a forlorn look on her face, Kurenai bowed her head once and left the room via the door. X equals X equals. Naruto completed his finishing touches to the seal. Haha. Done. What do you think, KY? Seems as if it was done correctly. Good work. How are you going to test it? Simple. One of me. The boy quickly created a clone and slapped the gravity seal tag onto its bare chest. The paper disintegrated and the seal tattooed itself onto the clone. The boy recalled the notes he made on the seal's workings and slammed his palm onto the clone's chest, focused his chakra onto the seal and yelled. Ni. 2. The clone suddenly stooped a little before struggling to stand again. It was obvious that the seal worked. But at least this way he had someone he could talk to. That is, getting feedback from the poor son of a bitch to know what it felt like. Well, how is it? I feel like my body weight doubled. What do you think, genius? The clone said sarcastically. Just try walking. Naruto tried to ignore his doppelganger's complaint. The clone obliged him and tried to walk. He did so with some difficulty but got along fine. Feels like walking through molasses. But I'm fine. It just takes some getting used to. Can you take it off now? Naruto walked over to the clone and repeated his original procedure but yelled, Ichi. The clone sighed in relief, and then decked Naruto in the jaw. Ow. What the hell? Ha. Take that. The clone then took a kunai out of its holster and stabbed itself in the eye, dispersing itself. What? The Kyuubi finished, completely stupefied. At first, he considered the idea of the clone being playful, but that method of disposing of itself was unnerving, to say the least, not to mention the fact that Naruto had a hard-wired penchant for lashing out in vengeance. He could only wonder about the first problem. Perhaps that was only a minute portion of the possibility that his container had garnered slight instability due to the seal. Maybe we missed the deadline by a day or so. I didn't really count the years to the day, and I myself had no intention of making him put up with the memories a day earlier than he had to, not because he was ready. He never would be, but we don't talk about those things anymore. The present is distracting enough as it is. Holy shit. What the hell is going on with my clone? Naruto was confounded. Was that just revenge for the seal? I know I can be vindictive, but that's just going too far. Damn. The boy set about drawing another gravity seal. Halfway through it, 12 more cage buncheons ran up to his location under the tree at Training Ground 3. They reached him and saluted, but it was far too sloppy for it to be serious. All the D ranks are done for the day, boss. They spoke in perfect unison. Naruto looked up. Much appreciated. Just put the earnings in here. He picked up a small bag next to him and held it out. The clones filed into a straight line and dropped the money into the bag one at a time. After they were done, he peered inside and did a mental count. Let's see. Holy crap, that much. He jumped up. You guys did great. You can get a bowl of ramen each. The clones cheered. They didn't expect to be rewarded. They just expected to be dispersed and all that. Hold on. Naruto exclaimed before his clones got carried away. I need all of you to transform into different disguises and spread rumors about rats in a grocery store. His eyes gleamed. The store is called the Ryo Saver, owned by Yoshiro Suhen. He handed each of them some money. Then you can get ramen. Let's get it over with, fellas. The clones shinned away. Heh. I bet you thought I forgot, didn't you, Kurama? Me. I didn't even remember. Naruto leaned against the tree and slid back down into a comfortable slump. All right. Good day so far, minus the punch in the face and suicidal clone. Everything else went all right, he mumbled. I finally understand the seal's mechanics. I'm a little richer, and from Yoshiro's perspective, the prick will probably lose business for a long time. Maybe. Still, all in all, good day. He started drawing the seal again. He carefully drew the symbols, infused chakra in all the right places, and made sure that all the correct outer kanji were in perfect order and synced. He observed the finished product with an air of finality before standing again. He bared his chest, hesitated for a single second, and then slammed it on his chest, focused his chakra into it, and yelled. Knee. He instantly fell to one knee as he felt his weight double. Shit. He bellowed intelligibly due to his clenched teeth. He strained to stand upright again. He soon righted himself again and tried to walk. But it soon became clear that just lifting a leg and placing it before another was now a bit difficult. However, he soon became used to it and was soon walking normally. Ha, I got it. KY. I can tell that this is going to make me stronger. I can tell also. All the muscles in your legs are clearly using more effort just to walk. Don't you realize that you're a bit breathless? Naruto stopped breathing for a minute. But he soon realized that his need for air was much quicker and urgent than what he was used to. You're right. Maybe I should practice with it for the rest of the time here. The boy continued to practice wearing the seal for the rest of the day, walking, then jogging, then running, sprinting. Before long, he was reduced to crawling on his hands and knees back to his original tree. He gathered his things back together and reduced the seal to one, and then made his way home, collapsing on his bed and falling asleep as soon as he laid his head on his pillow. For the next month, this was how his timetable went, if for lack of details. He would wake up, have breakfast, train with his team, do a couple of D ranks with them, eat lunch, replace the hospital clone, replenish the library clones with chakra, send back a dozen clones to Iruka to do more D ranks while he trained with the seal, limp home and drop into his bed. Throughout the first week, he realized that he needed to have more diverse meals, seeing as how he now constantly missed his third one. He found that with his newfound earnings, he could afford to just eat breakfast at a cafe every day and have ramen for lunch with some ordinary dietary supplements. He made sure to have food from all the food groups, and with his supplements, he soon became much healthier, and with his now vigorous and training, he lost all traces of baby fat on his face, and muscles soon developed in places he barely existed before. One such case were calves. They grew as lean and sinewy muscle without bulk weight and were as hard as mahogany. Soon, he could manage with the seal easily on twice the gravity. He soon rose to the third tier in the second week, still keeping up the habit of exhausting himself daily. He stopped removing the seal in the third week and kept it on. In the fourth week, he started doing chakra control exercise on water with the seal on. He kept half drowning in for 2 days. He soon conquered this. The now difficult exercise helped to increase his chakra control to help keep up with his growing chakra reserves. He started running gauntlets of obstacles in the destroyed training ground 4 with clones throwing jutsus left and right in an effort to stop him. There was no holds barred on these exercises, and the boy trained his newfound reflexes to hone his ever-growing skills. He knew that he was growing stronger every day. It wasn't the happiest time of his life. He was still training just so that he could one day kill Ito. And all it took was a couple of kinjutsu. Who would have thought it? The forbidden ways were the best. For him, anyway. X equals X equals. Alright. You may go in. Shino, Hinata, Naruto. Kurenai ordered. They all opened the door and stepped inside. The Hokage and Iruka were there, seated as usual behind and to the side of the desk. Good morning. Hokage-sama. Team 8 chorused. Good morning Kurenai, Naruto, Hinata, Shino. Back for another D rank. Hi, Hokage-sama. We would like one please. Yuhi answered. Iruka, if you may. Hiruzen looked to Iruka, who had already started to leaf through all the mission documents. In fact, he searched through it twice but couldn't seem to find any. Iruka-san. Kurenai raised an eyebrow. I see, can't seem to find any. The Chunin stuttered in bewilderment. Have you checked the backlog of D ranks? The Sandaime asked with a grimace. Those missions were the worst. Low-paying, tedious, menial, humiliating, all the things that normal people usually steered clear of. They would dole these horrible missions as D rank to the unsuspecting genin, so much so that they were saved for last, or if a genin was desperate for cash, or for punishment. That went both ways. If someone needed to be disciplined by way of law, or if the person was a self-harm addict and wanted to do it to themselves, enough said. None. Hokage-sama. Wait a minute. Iruka suddenly recalled giving the last D rank to one of Naruto's clones. I remember. I gave out the very last one to Naruto yesterday. And it was the last of the clogged up Ds as well. It's surprising. I didn't even think it was possible, but we don't have a single D ranked mission left. Naruto. Kurenai inquired. But it was I who took it from you yesterday. Iruka chuckled. Actually, he's been sending a dozen clones every day for the past month. This was always after he did them with his team and trained, was what he said to me. Is he allowed to use clones to do them, or assist himself in doing it? Yuhi knew her potential line for argument was weak. It had a lesser chance of Sasuke smiling, or Sakura becoming a brunette, or even Kakashi yelling, "Youth!" with Guyan crying. There is no rule against clones being used or being sent to do them in the first place. They are, essentially Naruto. Even though one of them is more than enough, Iruka jested. Hey, Naruto replied in mock anger. He and Iruka have been improving their relations with each other over the month through his clones. He had buried his slight animosity with him due to the S-ranked secret. It wasn't Iruka's place to tell him. Anyway, it was probably for the best. The aged Sarutobi chuckled. Even more so, to bar him from using clones on these missions would be to bar all clones on all missions. This would apply to everyone, so this would be a severe handicap, seeing as now that you are starting to using clones a bit more frequently as well, Kurenai. Alright. The red-eyed woman resigned her argument. I think it's time for us to do a C rank anyway. We had already accomplished our 25D ranked mission quota twice over to earn one. She gave Yumino a pointed look, and the man got the hint. Ah yes. Here's a relatively simple one. Iruka quickly searched through the mission stack and pulled one out. This C-rank mission requires you to go to Kimyo Town. There has been some suspicious behavior there. Nothing much. It specifies that it will be an investigation, and that's it. This was submitted from their mayor. About what? Naruto wanted to know what he was getting into. As I said, nothing much. Certain things in some places move somewhere else, and frequent vibrations felt from the ground, is what it says. I figured that you could take it since Hinata can look around with the Byakugan. Neji's already on another mission with Team Guy, so it stands to reason. Besides, Naruto, strange things are right up your alley anyway. Oi, I resent that comment. Naruto was indignant but soon lost all emotion from his face. Iruka figured that he was psyching himself for his first C-rank mission. About time for they had gotten a real mission, anyway. If Naruto had sent a dozen clones every day for the past 30 days and they worked in pairs to do each mission, they did 180. Iruka thought, looking up at the ceiling in a thinking position. He did 180 in the past month, notwithstanding the fact that this was basically solo. That's a lot of D ranks for anyone for 30 days, let alone a genin. None left. Shouldn't the whole world be a better place or something? He mumbled. Kurenai made a mental note of the mission parameters. Very well, Hokage-sama. Team 8, let's go. They filed through the door, Naruto last. The team went outside the Hokage's tower and Kurenai instructed them to leave, pack and prepare themselves for 3 days, figuring that they would return in a couple of days anyway, given the fairly close distance between the village and the roadside town. The students were told to convene at the east gate of the village as they departed. She stood and watched them all as they left, Naruto in particular. Soon, she left and did the same. Naruto came out of his shunshin to find that everyone was there already. They all possessed backpacks except for their teacher, who used seals instead, something Naruto took notice of. Kurenai-sensei, are only jonin allowed to use storage seals for personal purposes? He asked. No, everyone is permitted to, so long as they can show a legitimate certificate that indicates that they have the necessary skills to use seals. But it makes a slight hassle, having to unseal everything when leaving or entering the village because some people use them for smuggling large amounts of contraband. Had to go through it with the gate guards, and if you end up using storage seals, you will too. Quote. Okay. It seems worth it. They started walking, leaving the village for the first time. It felt liberating for Naruto, like leaving prison after a long sentence. From his point of view, it was as if the village walls were penning him in, like a wild animal. Shino felt nothing. Hinata was a bit felt estranged while Kurenai felt same old, same old. So, Kimyo Town, is that right? Naruto pressed on with questions. Hi, she answered, trying to remain curt. What sort of economy do they have? I have never heard of them before. I have passed through 2 or 3 times in the past. It has nothing in particular that's outstanding about it. It almost entirely residential and completely ordinary, she explained. She never really expected to hear a question like that, seeing that her stay each time was very brief. She never even got to ask about it or what they do. But she was sure they really had nothing going on or she would have heard about it. In essence, she half lied, and by making assumptions. He was satisfied with her answer. Perhaps you could tell us how far it is. I would prefer to move a bit faster than just a walk. It's 15 miles away, as the crow flies. Shino, Hinata, do you two want to run too? Kurenai addressed the other members who had yet to say anything. It's not an emergency, but it would be more efficient if we did make haste, provided we do not overexert ourselves. The stoic Aburame heir said. Hi, I don't mind. All right, let's go. Kurenai reaffirmed. They jumped up off the beaten path into the trees and started tree hopping, Kurenai in the lead, followed by Hinata, who was sandwiched by the boys on either side. Naruto looked to his teammates and grinned at them. I guess I'm to thank for the C-rank mission now, doing all the D ranks. We probably would have been catching the cat again, or walking the Inuzuka dogs or something. That may be true, Naruto-san. Experience in the field is valuable, but it would be more prudent to hone our skills more first, using the D ranks as an excuse to stay home to continue training. And what of the other genin teams? They probably would have to take C ranks as well, or go back to training. Shino said. True. But those D ranks provided some training for me. Trying to catch Tora the cat taught me to have more stealth, cause it has a superb sense of smell. Walking the Ninken dogs taught me to assert dominance and have leadership skills. Painting the walls gave me patience to not rush every stroke. Cleaning the sewers, I really hated that one, but it taught me to suffer in silence in a harsh environment. Even if not I'm personally there, I get the memories of my clones so I learn their lessons. That and the fact that 3 clones have to catch Tora. One to be used as a distraction, another for intimidation, and another to sacrifice its face to the tiger's claws, he said with a chuckle. Naruto, why do you do that? Shino asked after pondering the boy's remark. Do what? Sometimes you act very maturely, other times you act as previously when we were in the academy. You seem to have very distinct mood and personality changes at times. Shino said. I noticed too. It's almost as if you're bipolar with your emotions or something. The fox stated. He had been thinking about it recently too. Only just realizing that his mouth had been running again, and he was volunteering information, Naruto was horrified at himself. I act serious when it's business but I'm laxer around friends, Naruto said in his defense. The reason why he stressed this was unclear, but a long time later when she thought about this situation, Hinata would swear that it was because he did not consider them as friends yet. Oh, what about family? Shino inquired. This could be a new avenue in learning more about the blonde. Don't have any family. I'm an orphan. The boy looked very dejected. Don't even know who my parents are. Or if they loved me, but he suddenly smiled. But I have really good genes though. I'm plenty awesome, so that proves that both my parents were awesome. Being awesome is genetic. Everyone knows that. Hinata looked at the boy in confusion. She knew his character well, or so she believed, and knew when he was showing a fake smile. But that was the problem. She couldn't tell if it was fake or not. His voice sounded rich with mirth and he smiled. The smile even wrinkled his eyes a little in earnest. But it still felt off. Sorry I brought it up. You didn't offend me, Shino, Naruto replied brightly before it dropped a few octaves into something decidedly offended. You didn't know, even though you were my classmate for 3.5 years. Naruto growled a little. I didn't want to intrude on your privacy. Shino sounded very convincing, almost convincing himself. But he knew he was a hypocrite, having listened in on almost everyone's private conversations via his Kikaichu. He just never heard a conversation about the boy's parents before. But he couldn't argue with that credence. The boy calmed down. Well, it's behind us. Besides, if you quizzed me about your own heritage, I would be stumped too. True. My clan is a bit secretive, seeing as how we keep to ourselves, being shunned by others for what we hold. A Kikaichu crawled out of a pore of the skin on his wrist. He held out the hand in front of him, letting his teammates observe it. They did not squirm. Noting this, Shino gave a very tiny smile, but they couldn't see it due to his high collar. They weren't squeamish about his technique, or his guests, at least. Well, I guess so, Naruto concluded with a dejected sigh. Kurenai had listened to the conversation that had occurred behind her. She hadn't sympathized with the boy in that aspect. Him being an orphan too. He never even got to know his parents, unlike her who had around 14 years with hers. She frowned as the saying, better to have loved than lost than never at all, kept circling around in her mind. But almost everyone else in the village kept their grudge against the boy, why not her? And what was that comment about Naruto's moods? The blonde sounded correct when he explained himself. He never really sounded cold to his teammates, only to her and almost all other jonin they interacted with. It really made her wonder. How many jonin and chunin did the boy ask for help? Certainly not all of them, but it was probably a good portion of them, giving the boy the idea that everyone was out to get him. She couldn't blame him there since she brushed him off when he wanted help. But he did seem as though he was trying to forgive her, seeing him lose some of his attitudes that he had a full month ago. She closed her eyes and shook her head. She would ponder later. By now, they were only 1 mile away from Kimyo Town and they finished the rest of the journey in silence, each in their own thoughts. However, while Naruto thought of the mission, he was ignorant of the fact that everyone was thinking about him. A bit ironic that in the past when he'd wanted everyone's attention. Finally, they jumped out of the tree line and dashed the last 100 meters to the entrance of the town. It seemed a bit quaint and old-fashioned, given how out of the way it was, and the lack of electric lines, indicating that they were behind Konohagakure no Sato progress-wise. But they didn't mind that. They had a mission to do.